the stars where we rise, blazing hearts where courage lies. Yavatroopers standing tall, answering the cosmic call. In the void where echoes sing, satellites on silver wings. Destiny is found in fight. We guard the truth with all our minds. Join the core, be bold and brave. In battle bright, our path we pave. With honor fierce and fearless glee, Yavatroopers guard the galaxy. Armored up from head to toe, in nebula where legends grow. Through the stars our spirits soar, with valor ever, evermore. In the dark where shadows roam, together we will find our home. Warriors of the endless night, bonded strong in the sacred fight. Join the core, be bold and brave. In battle bright, our path we pave. With honor fierce and fearless glee, Yavatroopers guard the galaxy. Guard the galaxy. Guard the galaxy. Join the core, be bold and brave. In battle bright, our path we pave. With honor fierce and fearless glee, Yavatroopers guard the galaxy. Guard the galaxy. Guard the galaxy.
Hey, what is up, everyone?
Um,
Can you see me? Can you hear me? Where did Straxwill go?
there he is.
Ah! 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 Oh! Oh!
He hears you.
Why can I not see? Why can I not see this epicness? This is epic. You all see this, right? Hold up. Oh, dang it. Why'd you leave?
The three of us are good, I'm pretty sure.
I have a how did I? There we go.
I don't know.
There we
I
go.
don't know what's going on.
There we go. I think we got it.
Can you hear me, Bobby?
Yeah, I hear you now. I see Dennis Nedry.
Okay, we're good.
I see
I
Dennis
can
Nedry.
shift my cameras now, so when you want me to speak, I won't be Dennis.
Oh, okay. So, oh wow, that's perfect. All right, so you can see, you can hear me. Can you hear everybody else?
Hi. Check.
Yep.
Check.
All right. All right. Chat. So today, this is a long-awaited stream. We've been trying to do this over the past month. We've been trying, but time is just a fickle bitch. And anyway, we will be going over the Jurassic Park movie and Jurassic Park novel. Number 1. We've been waiting for this for a very long time. I've been mentioning it throughout the past few streams. I've been like, hey, you know what? We're going to do this. And it just ended up working out. Hey, that's how it goes. So, but now we are finally here. For a sec, I thought Wayne Knight was in the stream. If Wayne Knight was here, holy crap, we'd all be losing it. Like, okay. Explain. Dilophosaurus scene. Go. All right. So, joining me here today, we have our second in command, Straxwill.
What's up, everybody?
That is Dennis Nedry, by the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. We got Sag.
Happy to be back.
Yeah. Well, you know him all from our Rebirth discussion, which I really enjoy this. How'd you get Newman in your stream? And we got the one and only Spaghetti Yeti.
What's up? How you doing?
Yeah. I think this is going to be a very fun and very insightful stream. So, I just got done with my second read through in a month of the Jurassic Park novel. I love the Jurassic Park novel. It is great. What is up? What is up, Chad? Skippy be praised. This is finally yes, it is finally happened, Chad. Skippy be praised. That is another novel I will explain later on. But we will be discussing the movie and the novel today. So I got done with my second read through in the month. How many times have all of you read it so far?
Probably 4 times.
Oh, wow. In a month?
I have a lot of time on the boat. A lot of time on the boat.
Nice.
Oh, you said 4 times in a month.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, I didn't do it that much. I only brought it back one. I was thinking lifetime.
I came prepared.
Recently I only read the book once, but I watched the movie about 3 or 4 times probably. I was watching through the original trilogy a few times over the last couple months for sure. But lifetime, I've probably read the Jurassic Park book more than any other book, probably next to like the Harry Potter books. It's like used to be my go-to, so I probably read it like upwards of 15 times.
Do you have the copy of that book with you?
Not right now. I
Yeah.
don't have it on hand right now.
Yeah.
It's actually in my car because I had it with me. I bring it with me to work when I go.
Yeah,
Because I'm sitting around a lot of times. Thankfully, this week.
Yeah.
But I don't have it on hand. I should have the Lost World somewhere. I'm like looking for it, but I have a lot of books stacked up over here. I'll probably find it at some point. But it's like so tattered. I've had the same book for so long. It's like it's not like in bad condition, but you can just tell how worn it is because it's just been the same book flipped through for years.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you showing me like, oh yeah, that's been read a few times.
Yeah. I'm like looking around for it. It's got to be around here somewhere. But...
Yeah. But yeah. You.
The last time I actually read through it, it's probably been about a year.
Oh yeah. So right now it's like
I'm probably the most unprepared.
What?
For this.
Yeah.
But,
How dare you?
I've read the book twice, and actually I have digital copies too, but my actual copy of Jurassic Park, the cover is broken off, but I still have the cover.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That copy looked nice. It looks well used, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like so many pages.
Yeah, everything's worn out from just reading it so many times. Yeah. Like, of course, this is not my second time reading through it. I think that was like my 7th or 8th time read through that book. I love that book. So I love the Jurassic Park novel so much. And if any of you haven't read it, there are going to be spoilers in this stream.
Lots.
And you're gonna hear a lot of stuff because we're gonna go down. We might go down some rabbit holes here too. So. But Jurassic Park was released, the novel was released in 1990. It was written by Michael Crichton, a very, very talented author. And he put a lot of his own words and his beliefs into the book with one character. Can one of you name the character that he has modeled after himself?
Ian Malcolm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was figuring Ian Malcolm.
So Ian Malcolm was actually Michael Crichton in the book. So it's going to be it just the I guess philosophies of what his core beliefs are put into this, and that guy is a
Make
genius.
himself the best character.
Oh yes, of course,
Right.
of course, the greatest character.
And he also had to whoa. Spoiler alert, maybe kill himself off.
Well, yeah, spoiler alert, we'll get there. So, but yes, it was made in 1990. So 3 years after, they made a movie. I should have probably done a little bit of notes on how they kind of came up with the movie itself, like their idea on, hey, let's go with the from the book to novel. So does anybody know like kind of what gave them an edge to make this movie? How this got so big into a movie in just 3 years?
Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg's just really known to take books
and turn them into movies. Jaws, for example, is one of those. He just typically he found books that he really enjoyed, he really loved, and he wanted to see what they look like on the big screen. He's one of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also the fact that originally, before the book was even a thing, the original Jurassic Park was conceived as a screenplay, which was originally just going to be about a young boy cloning a dinosaur before it evolved into Crichton's larger idea of Jurassic Park. So this was always something that, if it was successful, he wanted to adapt on a larger scale. And then when the book was as successful as it was just like the perfect collusion of it all.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that, Saj. That's good.
That's why they won't only rely on me for some of these facts, because I don't know all the facts. So we got a question here by Luke in the chat. Was Michael Crichton an actual mathematician?
What do you think?
He's Googling. He's cheating.
I am.
No, there's no Googling. Well, he wrote the character as a mathematician, right?
I feel that a lot of his belief, like how his beliefs are and what his studies are, to be able to write a lot of this stuff, he has gone through every single thing that he could with all his different books and novels.
Well, I could have sworn he was a professor. So
he was a physician that was Harvard trained. So
yeah.
What's great about his work is he was very descriptive. He was able to bring a lot of pictures to mind. You could almost see the story in your mind as you read it. He's very, very intelligent about how he described the settings, the characters, the villains, everything in his stories. If you read it, every little detail he puts in there is there for a reason.
Well, that'll bring you to the beginning of the Jurassic Park book, and when that man is being hauled into the hospital after being off that helicopter, and how much detail he put into the drool and the blood and all that stuff. Just starting off with the book, the intro, basically, really, really puts you in that mindset. Ooh, scary. What did this?
Yeah.
Obviously, we know it's dinosaurs. Spoiler alert with the name. But, it's pretty amazing how he just writes in general. The description.
Yeah. So to get this fully started we're going to start with the book and explaining with how the book is and stuff, and you'll hear some really cool facts about this, like just like the differences throughout, but we're also going to discuss the differences after we get through the movie and the book and movie. So with the book, you get more of an explanation on the formation of Engine and how this whole thing about genetics and like how everything kind of started up a little bit there. So I think it started out as Genentech, and then it went into where it is now, because it was just like an all-out battle in the genetic. And to me, I call it the genetic wars, because there's different companies between Engine, Biosyn, just kind of Biosyn's more of a, hey, let's steal other people's ideas. But yes, Biosyn is in this book and everything. You get a nice explanation between all what's going on. Then, of course, you go into where you have the mysterious part where it's pouring down rain, and so there's a storm going on, and you're at this little, it's like a village hospital area. It's not really like, it's more of a, I guess, from what I can remember, for small end, not like big end hospital. It's more for, I guess, parentage and stuff, for like getting the kids nice and safe and healed up. And well, they brought, so in the beginning of this, you deal with an attack that nobody knows. So all throughout the beginning of Jurassic Park, you have no idea. You see this mystery stuff. Engine's kind of being very secretive. You have these different workers and stuff. So you get introduced to one of the first characters that are going to be on the island. So I'm going to be also just more explaining most of the people that are on the island, but also some people on the side here. So we'll go ahead and start with this scene. It starts with Gonzalez, I think is her last name. and she is just kind of there talking with I think it's a midwife, or I'm pretty sure it's a midwife, and they are just kind of talking there, and they hear like a putter of a helicopter coming in, and
Mm-hmm.
that's whenever they come out and they see what's going on, and we're introduced to Ed Regis. What was his job in it? It was he was the facility affairs and stuff, and kind of just dealing with everything, making sure everything's going right. Uh, so he kind of they brought this in, and the doctor there is kind of like looking at these wounds and noticing that it seems more like, because they said it was an excavator accident, that he was, I think, thrown off of it or was hit by an excavator. So it was a nice little this is how that began compared to what we'll discuss later on with the beginning of Jurassic Park the movie. Like, of course, we're not going to be like full on and we're going to explain every little second of this, but these are some cool little tidbits that are major in this, and then we'll start picking up all these differences. So let's kind of go through that kind of scene on how you all took that scene in the book, starting with you, Strax.
So with me in that specific scene, again, we'll talk about the setting. It's kind of like that mysterious background, something ominous is happening. And obviously they bring this patient to the ward, we'll call it the maternity ward. And they say, yeah, this was caused by some form of excavator. I don't know, whatever you're calling it there, Yava, but we'll call it an excavator. But the funny thing is I actually work in medical. So when you're examining a patient like that for trauma and any type of lacerations or things like that, you can tell the difference between a machine brought on injury versus something based off of an animal attack. And what he does very well in describing this setting is he breaks down what the doctors are seeing. Hey, this was no machine accident, because somebody that's in that field is going to see, yeah, these are lacerations brought on by bites, by attacks. So obviously they put two and two together, which says, okay, something very dangerous happened to this man that they're being very secretive about, right? And just opening your story with something like that says, okay, we have something that appears to be one thing, but it is so out of our minds of comprehension that we're not going to be able to determine, where this is going to go. We know, oh, it's called Jurassic Park. It probably involves dinosaurs. We know as the reader, we're reading a book about some form of dinosaur, because right on the cover, you got a big T-Rex, right?
Yep.
And this specific scene when he's coming in, I think the person or the victim here, I don't remember the victim's name, but he does say something in Spanish as to light of a certain creature in their culture. And I can't remember what the name is. Forgive me, I don't have the book in front of me.
It is they'll say Upia.
Yes. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, which is
Upia.
really interesting, because now you have all these people believing, hey, this is beyond just natural, right? This is not just scientific, it's mythical, right? And you think of like Nessie, for example, being a mythical creature, whatever attacked this man was something mythical and out of the norm for these characters, right? So I like the scene. I think it's a great way to open the book.
Oh yeah,
To get your head toe dipped into the water.
yeah, it definitely does, and like you hit right on the head there, and with your medical background too, and seeing how you get the thought process of what's going on with the doctor in the beginning of this, like this is not any kind of attack like that. You can see how it's torn up, like it's been shredded, because she's used to seeing some dog attacks and stuff from where because I think she was from. I don't think she was from Costa Rica. She was from America, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't study up too much on that portion. But yeah, she goes and explains. She can even see, I think, the little bit of saliva on the wound as well, and how it's all built up.
Yep.
So, yep. All right, Sag.
Yeah, that was perfectly well put. Everything that you just said. And I think that's just you having that the medical knowledge and having that be stuff that you can immediately relate to and pick up on just goes to show even more of just when Michael Crichton is writing this how immersive he is, because someone with no knowledge, it's already pulling people in, and like you said, the cover of the book, you got this big T-Rex. It's obviously, this is going to be about dinosaurs, but immediately it's all about the mystery, the intrigue, and the ominous vibe that it's setting. And uh, this is, I think, a perfect example of not only just books, but it goes into greater media overall of the perfect thing of it's telling and it's showing and not telling, where you're getting the clues, or it's not immediately bombarding you with information. It's kind of giving you the pieces slowly, and it's the perfect way to build the mystery. And immediately you're speculating of what could this be, but your mind is also racing trying to put the pieces together, because like, okay, obviously it's not something big, it's not something crazy, it's not going to be the dinosaurs right away. But then at the same time you're questioning it, and then you have the perfect usage of, you have the PR guy and Regis, and why is the PR guy coming in here, why is the head of a public relations for the company involved here? So it's already, you're getting so many questions that aren't things that are pushing a reader out. It's things that are all pulling a reader in. So it's really
Mhm.
just a perfect introduction, and it sets the stage for what will go on for the rest of the book.
Hmm.
But I just remember this, like this beginning, and then some stuff we'll get into obviously in the coming chapters of the beginning. But the whole beginning stage was probably the thing that pulled me into the most when I was little and first reading this. Like the whole mystery of it, and what are these little things that are causing this all this trouble, and how are we going to get into this greater mystery of what's going on. But I think the dynamic of having these American or English speaking, these business guys coming in and trying to control the situation of what's going on here with the non-English speakers who are clearly something else going on. It's just the perfect introduction of mystery, and a great opening to the book.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. Definitely. Very, very good. Very well said. All right. Spaghetti.
All right. That's going to be hard to follow up from both of you guys because I mean I'm not going to be as detailed, but really it is a really really good opening for many, like any book honestly. The way the description of the wounds to like setting up the setting for the entire beginning is literally a good lore for a reader. So we're the fish, and that is the lore of this book. So it really does capture the attention, and the horror in this particular part of the book is just phenomenal. It is.
Yep.
So I don't really got much to say about it, but it is a wonderfully well written beginning of a book.
Yep. Yeah, and like,
Let's just say if I was a child reading the book, I don't know, it might have given me nightmares.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Imagine how many kids or imagine how many people got this book for a younger audience thinking, oh, it's going to be about dinosaurs. They're going to love this. My kid is going to love this. And immediately it's just scary stuff off the jump. And imagine how many kids just put it down. They're like, I'm not into this. I'm not doing this.
No,
Mhm.
no.
Yep. And then um,
Book for a younger audience thinking,
I'm
oh, it's
also
going to be about
sorry.
dinosaurs.
I'm making sure too that the audio is coming in for everybody again. But yes, the way this all starts out, like it starts off with like most how science fiction and like horror and anything starts off as, okay, you got a nice little mystery going on here, and some of the stuff that happens in here is very like, oh wow, I can't believe they did this. So we're gonna lead up. This is a very big moment in the book. We're gonna go ahead because there's a lot of, whenever you go to read this book, you got to also put in mind too, there's a lot of explanations about like scientific stuff that's going on, different, all different types of studies on between genetics, paleontology, all that. So we're going to go into a very big moment that was not in the movies, and we all know why. Everybody in this panel right now, they know exactly why. There is a scene where I don't think it was in the same place. It was in a different area, and it was along some coastal area. and this was a place for pregnant pregnant mothers or mothers that just gave birth, and they have midwives and everything, so they're just helping like kind of take care of the kids and stuff, and kind of getting them all prepped up for whenever they're ready to go home. So the midwife is kind of just like doing her rounds and stuff, and kind of hears birds chirping and stuff. He's like, oh, there must be birds or something out there.
Put quotes there.
Yeah, birds. And here's a chirping coming from this one infant's room area, and goes in there. And so this is going to be a little bit graphic, so kind of prepare yourselves here. So I'm giving you all your warnings right now. This is a little bit graphic, so if there's anybody in here, just be prepared. This moment she walks in and she sees these green foot tracks, and like I think she sees the lizards, and they have kind of blood trickling off of them and stuff, and unfortunately it was in the demise of the child, of the infant.
The infant.
Yeah, and they gave it was medical term Strax, sudden infant death, I think is SIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
SIDS.
Yeah, sudden, and that's how they cover it up, because they felt that was their responsibility and something happened here, so they covered it up. And you kind of have these like little points, so let's go ahead and kind of discuss this amongst it. It's not going to be, of course, a very long. We can just spend whatever time. Strax, how did you, whenever you heard this scene, how did you react to this?
That's absolutely chilling.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely chilling. And I want to take a moment here for the audience to let you know what's going on here and the brilliance of what Crichton's writing. Okay. Something that people like to bring up about this specific scene is, why didn't the baby cry? Why wasn't it going out of its way to let them know, hey, I'm being attacked, crying loudly for them to be worried? Well, there's something very interesting at the end of the book too. So if you read in the beginning of the book, after this happens to the child, at the end of the book, there's some spoilers here. We'll probably talk about later. John Hammond also gets attacked by the same type of lizard. In their saliva is a certain toxin which causes a numbing euphoric effect, right? And in an adult, yeah, it's going to take time to set in. It's going to metabolize differently. But with infants, a single bite like that is almost like giving a direct injection right away. So the child was numb immediately for what happened, right? And that to me is just absolutely horrifying, because as a parent myself, not knowing what's going on in my child's bedroom, knowing something horrible is happening and knowing that I could have prevented it. My job as a father is to protect them, to be there for that child. Same for mothers. To walk into a scene like that would be absolutely horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. And it's just brilliant, the atmosphere he brought up in that. So it instills fear into you, but it was still intelligent in how he designed that specific scene. So absolutely chilling to me.
Yes, yeah, it was a very chilling scene, and I like, whenever I first heard it, I was like, oh, what? So, you're already seeing some differences from the book and the movie. So, Sag, go ahead, Spaghetti.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I'll wait.
All right, Sag, your reaction to the scene.
Yeah, this was the part that fully like grabbed me. I know, like super early on still, but this was always the scene that, and I know it was mentioned earlier, but like this is the personification of Michael Crichton's visual storytelling, because it's like everyone could picture this scene as it was described, and there's obviously visualizations and artwork of it, but it's all like the same picture of like that silhouetted the compies in the moonlight of like the woman coming into this room, and of course this horrifying scene. And that is a perfect thing to bring up. I was going to bring that up as well, like the thing with the compies. And obviously this is into the second movie, but we know what happens with, I'm blanking on his name, but of course that iconic attack in that second movie, on the part of the hunting crew where he kind of gets separated by the river and the compies jump on him, and the question always was, a person would never get overpowered by a compy like that. But that's the
Mhm.
thing that is always forgotten and was never really highlighted in the movies, but we do get it greatly personified in the book, and again with John Hammond in the end, that paralyzing toxin that they have in their bites, and that thing, like again, like you said with the baby, that is truly horrifying because it would be over before it even started. It's like one bite, and
Mhm.
again, we've all seen how the compies are, how ferocious they are, and I do love how we kind of got some kind of an inspired scene from this, of course, at the beginning of the Lost World with the little girl stumbling upon the compies and all that, and that horrifying scene. But that is, again, this is one of the most iconic scenes in one of, if you ask Jurassic fans who've read the books, this is one of the most memorable moments, and it's right at the beginning of the first book, and it's really before we even get into anything, and that just shows you again how great of a hook right at the beginning this is to Michael Crichton, getting you right into this world and right into the thick of this is crazy, what is going on. We thought it was just this one incident and it's like this one thing, but no, this is clearly a much bigger potential threat than anybody really knows.
Dietrich, what's his name?
Yep, DJ.
Yep.
Well, I'd like to think, just on a side note, amazing where Jurassic Park is now compared to where it started in the horror esque as like part of the book compared to now it's a children's show. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
you, you go from a baby basically, I'm not going to even go into the detail, and into a, oh wow, dinosaurs, scary, run, type esque. No, yeah, it's just amazing. But that particular scene, when I first read it, I had to put the book down. It was a lot. It was a heck of a lot to deal with. Honestly, very very well written, but a lot. So I had to put the book down. I had to stop reading. I think I just took the day because it kind of did affect me a lot. And it's just amazingly written. The details with the copies, like you guys were saying, what like something that little can cause havoc. It's amazing. But yeah, that's all I really have about that scene.
None of the kids die in the movie. It's crazy,
Yeah.
isn't it?
No, no.
Yeah, yeah, no,
The
no,
books,
yeah,
he shows no,
yeah.
no mercy.
There's no, yeah, yeah. Luke is very fresh to the book. This is the first time he's ever read this book, and like I would love to eventually hear like it was not a, no, that's something you don't expect. It's you're just sitting there like, okay, like there's nothing gonna happen here. She's gonna come in, they're gonna run off. There's not gonna be any issue. Well, they ran off. They already got their job done. What they were meant to be there for, and it was a very very serious moment that there was no way that was going to make it in a movie form.
No.
And
Do you remember that old Carna?
Carnotaur.
Like, probably if they would have made a movie like that, you could have.
Mhm.
But no.
Yeah,
Absolutely
the
not. Absolutely not.
Hollywood epic of what Jurassic Park was, and
Yeah.
it's just like mind-boggling.
They wanted to avoid that R rating.
Yeah, they were like
For
they
sure.
wanted to make it like okay, yeah, it's a little bit like the most it was holy crap, this is scary. Like look at these things, like lifelike practical effects and stuff. But yeah, you have like moments like that, and you're just like keeps you like, oh wow, I gotta check this. I gotta check this book out because that was one of the things. Because before I ever read the book, because I was like most where I only saw the movie, so I'm like, okay, well, I was watching a Clayton Fiordi YouTuber, and he was explaining that scene. I'm like, wait, this is in there? I got to check this book out. So whenever I first saw it, it wasn't like a huge surprise, but in the detail that they did it in that was holy crap. Like I can't imagine. I can't imagine, especially like them. Then they had to cover it up and tell the parents that it was just SIDS. That's all it was. But they
That's horrible.
Again, it amazes me that it turned into a children's show.
yeah. So,
Mhm.
but we're going to lead up into a point that Sag was making. There is something in this book that you'll notice that was actually in the second movie. So, at this point, we go to a family. They're doing a little beach vacation, and this family is the Bowmans.
Yep.
So they're just kind of on a nice little just vacation for themselves to enjoy themselves, and good little family. It's Tina, Susan, and Mike Bowman, and it was similar to the Lost World. This is where that scene in the beginning of the Lost World came from. And I'm actually kind of glad that they brought it in there, because I can imagine most of the people, whenever the movie came out, they're like, where was that scene? Why didn't they have that in there? Well, they brought it. But this scene was similar to it, except I don't think it was they were like this big, huge, rich family where they had servants and stuff around them, and they were on the island itself. This is right off the coast, right off of the coast, or right off of Costa Rica, and on a little private little portion, so they had it all by themselves. So they're just out there enjoying themselves, and of course they're making food and stuff. They're getting everything ready for their nice little family dinner and stuff. Well, the daughter, who's trying to go and get a picture, or draw a picture of I think it was a three-toed sloth, kind of looking around and stuff, just because she's very into the wildlife of Costa Rica. So she's going around and checking all this out. Well, that's whenever she stumbles upon the lizards, as I'm going to keep, but we all know them as Procopsognathus, or compies, so you don't have to keep on saying. But that is where we see the scene shot for shot from the Lost World, and it is of course, she's fine and everything at the end of this, and this is where we kind of go into like more of a discovery on how there's these lizards out here just attacking people. And the Bowmans, they're in the hospital, and Martin Gutierrez, I think is his name, goes up and asks the little girl they're asking for pictures, and she has a drawing of the picture, and like she said, just complete detail on what's going on here. And she actually said to I think it was either Gutierrez or one of the doctors, that, hey, you're wearing a different tie today or something, like showing how much in detail she was. And she drew this picture of this lizard they kept saying was a basilisk lizard.
Yep.
And if you look at a picture of basilisk lizard, which I don't know if any of you can show it at all, but let me see if I can pick it up.
Hey, you keep going. I'll find one.
Yeah, go ahead and find. Yeah, it is a basilisk lizard. And if you look at a Procopsognathus to a basilisk lizard, there's no way that anybody can mistaken that. There's no way this is a basilisk lizard.
And the bites were not matching up either.
Yeah, bites weren't matching up, and I think there was like something with their toes and stuff were different and everything, because these were 3 toes. So she literally was like, she held up a hand and she's like, 3 toes, like this, just like this.
Weren't they comparing it to birds too?
Yeah, they were comparing it to birds and stuff, but they were lizards. And with dinosaurs, a lot of them were 3-toed, like that. And with most of the carnivores and stuff, you'll see more of a 3-toed spike, like a bird. That's why, like, you'll see it in most of Jurassic Park movies, where you always see, like, whenever the bird lands in Jurassic World, you just see, what's up, Tim? And it's just like, yeah, this is a basilisk lizard. So we got a basilisk lizard compared to a Procopsognathus. They're a complete different thing here. And that there is there's no way if you drew something and they're like, oh, we're experts, this is the back. There's no fin. There's no drawing of fin on the back of this thing. The thing has a little Spinosaurus look to it, and it's got a little mohawk and everything to it. So that is a basilisk lizard, and thank you, Straxwill, for pulling that out. So I'm gonna go. Yep, I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
That's a stud lizard right there.
Yeah, look at that. I think I'm gonna model my next dude after
I
that.
wish I had that hairdo.
Looks like a Sceptile from Pokemon.
Close enough. Welcome back, Spinosaurus.
Fetus. Yeah. Yeah, welcome back. The Metasauruses will be coming soon. And these are Metasauruses that we're talking about right now. Scavengers, but Metasauruses. Yeah. Yep, Metasauruses. But yeah, it is a very crazy moment. I'm gonna go ahead and go to how each of you felt about this scene. So we'll start again with Straxwell.
I think it's another opportunity for Crichton to really pass on the power of denial, right? Throughout, and it's interesting they use Ed Regis through all of this because he's kind of like the face of the company defending it. And throughout the story, the characters that want Jurassic Park to be a thing are constantly in denial. Oh, we have control of the situation. Oh, we can fix the power. Nothing's going to happen. Oh, they're not dangerous. We know exactly how many animals there are. Oh, we know they can't breed or can't do anything like that. There's no way they could get off the island because we know what's here. Even the villains of that, like in Dennis Nedry, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, here in a little bit, had everything mapped out. Oh, I can easily get to the dock. I can easily take this plan and make it happen. So this is like, I think, the start of where you really see the theme of denial in these characters that, hey, I have control. But in that denial, people get hurt. Characters get hurt. Human beings in the end are suffering through what's going on. And I just think it's a great picture of that moment. And what I really like, he's like, yep, it has to be this lizard because there's no way our animals could have gotten off the island or done what they did.
Yeah, and they're in denial about this little girl actually knowing, and the memory that showed that she remembered what tie that this man was wearing the day before and stuff. Hey, you're wearing a different tie and stuff. You're wearing the same shirt but a different tie.
Yep. And it shows several times throughout the story that the kids actually know a lot more than some of the adults. They know what the animals are, what they eat. They're like sponges. And I know you're going to talk to this a little bit later, but that's exactly what I got from this. This is his way of showing everybody that not everything is as it seems. Sometimes it just takes something as innocent as a child looking at something to say, hey, there's something wrong here,
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely. And that's what you hit that nail right on the head right there.
There he is again.
Yep. Sag?
Yeah, and just kind of taking that a little bit more, it also starts to kind of make you, as the reader, start to wonder how big does this whole cover up operation go, or like how much do they know, how much are they letting on, how honest are they being here, do they really, because are they, like you said, they're like our animals could never get off the island, but do they know that they are, or do they really believe this lie? Or are they truly that ignorant and confident in themselves, or is this even worse? And this is a much bigger cover up than we even really know about. Because again, if this is something where it's happening frequently, are the doctors aware of this stuff? The locals are clearly aware, because the fact that the children have this level of knowledge, clearly this is starting to hint that this is clearly something much bigger than they're letting on. This isn't just a basilisk attack. So it's just continuing to, we really know nothing yet, but it's continuing to kind of pose questions that are building out the world overall.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I also think that these scenes that it's kind of like the first clues to showing that there's a population control issue.
Yep.
The reader doesn't know it yet. Obviously, we're not.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't gotten there yet. But it's brilliant how Michael Crichton like put the piece together and say, okay, I'm gonna put a small little clue in here. Say, hey, they don't even realize these dinosaurs are these little dinosaurs are getting off the island in the first place. They don't realize it. So
Yep.
I think it is a first clue for the readers. Say, hey, I'm gonna just put this here. Remember this. So the detail is just very important for these little stories before we even get to the island.
Yep.
Because when they start getting into all the details with populations and stuff like that, that's where you're like, oh well, that was a clue. That makes
Yep.
sense.
Yep.
Exactly, like planting the seeds early before we really get into it, and then like you said, they actually start keeping track, or trying to make you keep track of how many this dinosaur there is, how many that dinosaur is, but then things start to not add up so much, and then you start to think of Yeah, I'm not gonna. We'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. It's amazing how you have to actually you jump in the book too to
Yeah,
realize like, oh
Yeah.
hey, he said this in the beginning.
yeah. How early
And-
on the breadcrumbs are
Yeah.
starting to be laid.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And with that scene right there, it just goes to show the attention to detail that no, they're not paying attention, but the kids are. They're like, hey, what's going on here? But yeah, with the book to movie adaptation of that, and what's funny is it being book to second movie adaptation is just crazy. So, is there anything you want to say any more on that there, Spaghetti?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Good.
All right, cool. We'll definitely go over and revisit this whenever we do the Lost World book and movie discussion as well. So we'll go ahead on to the next part of the book, which I think we kind of get into. We're kind of getting introductions and stuff, if I'm not mistaken, at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the first introduction we get, like after we're kind of dealing with this is after the little girl's attack. They want to send because there's a specimen that gets discovered because the one I think it's Martin Gutierrez is just kind of driving along the road and sees I think it was a baboon or a howler monkey or something with something in its jaws, and it is this lizard, and it's a lizard. They're like, okay, this is not a basilisk, so we got to send they want to send this up to up to New York, if I'm not mistaken, for them to kind of study at their little lab up there to kind of figure this out. And then we kind of get into the point where we are, I think it goes into the introduction of Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler. I think that's where it goes up into next.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and kind of get into the Alan Grant discovery, like them kind of getting this whole thing. Like, okay, they're getting asked questions about this now. So first they ask Grant about, hey, we got a specimen coming into you. They kind of sent I think they sent the picture through fax or something to them, and he was able to kind of like look at it and be like, okay, this is definitely not along the lines of a basilisk lizard.
Mm-hmm.
But let's go ahead and start with Strax whenever it gets to this scene.
Again, it's just like they're trying to adapt to a world they're not attuned to in this scene. And you can see that the world is just taking it as it is. That's what I kind of see in this picture. The baboon's clearly eating something it thinks is a lizard. It's very naive. Whereas they don't know what it is, but they want to send it to somebody, an expert, to see what it is. And even in the midst of that evidence, whenever Grant finally gets to the creature that he finds, they start to say that there's no way that this is what it is. So it's, again, I think more playing on putting plain things in front of your face, and even the reader itself being like, well, this is a dinosaur, because we as the reader are looking at this like, that's clearly a dinosaur, that's clearly what this is trying to do. But the characters not giving you that resolution is what adds more tension in the reader's mind.
Mm-hmm.
So as we're progressing through the story, we're frustrated because we kind of low-key know something bad's going down.
Yep.
But the characters are diving into this scenario. So I think it helps, this specific scene helps us as readers kind of fit the atmosphere,
Yep.
That's really what I have on this scene.
Yes. And we during this scene we're getting we're getting a whole bunch, just like we're kind of getting into more of a little bit more open about the island this time, because there is that we have a discussion, and this is actually over the phone, not in person, but we have a discussion about getting with John Hammond and Ellie Sattler and Dr. Grant. And this, holy crap, is Hammond a asshole.
Oh, for sure.
Very arrogant in what he wants, and he's wanting to hurry up. And we, before we get to Hammond and stuff, we actually have an investigator asking about the island and asking about the consultation fee that Grant got paid. So they kind of, because they're kind of asking them about, hey, what are the eating habits of these animals? What were the nest habits of these animals? Because they're trying to build up this park. But yeah, we'll keep on going with this, and we'll go ahead and continue here with Sag.
Yeah. I was pretty much just kind of thinking, building off what was previously said. My favorite part about this is like, just like you mentioned, we know when they find it, this is obviously a dinosaur, but they are proceeding exactly how they should. And what makes this different from a lot of like scary movies or movies that incorporate this horror or these kind of ominous elements is that the the characters are normally acting stupid, or like you're like, why are you doing that? But in this case, they're doing exactly what they should be doing because they don't know how to handle this. They don't know what this is, so they are deferring to the professionals. But you're also kind of just in the back of your mind, and you're like, hopefully Regis and his guys don't get their hands on this, because you kind of at this point, their operation cover up all the way,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to find out more about this. So it's the tension is built in with every moment, and it's already caked in with the scene of just engaging this and bringing in the new characters. Of course, we all love Alan Grant. But the big thing with John Hammond is like the thing that obviously sticks out the most. Like you said, he's just an asshole in this. He's
Mm-hmm.
not the same the John Hammond of the movie, which is much more of the jolly old guy who's just trying to make a theme park and make a dinosaur zoo for the world. This is much more of he's trying to do his thing. He's the businessman. He's not necessarily the jolly old fellow. But another a great way to continue to grow the cast in a way that makes sense is we're starting to build the picture of this park, and we're getting to this park, and we again, we barely know anything about it and what's going on there, but just everything that's building up around it is, you can't wait to get there and can't wait to get into what is going on here, what's the situation, is it out of control, and we just have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to
I
bring up something else with this. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off there.
not good. Good.
Um, there's another character that comes into play during this, which is Gennaro. And Gennaro is almost like a voice of reason through it. He's totally different than he is in the movies. And I think after this, he asks Dr. Grant what it is, because the images were sent to Dr. Grant. Here's what's interesting. Dr. Grant is a paleontologist. He deals with bones, right? And he was given the x-rays of this creature because it was frozen in a university. And he very clearly tells him it's Procompsognathus, like straightforward tells Gennaro on the phone it's Procon, and he couldn't even pronounce what it was. So it's just another facet that he just throws in there. Is like, hey, you got an expert here about dinosaurs telling you that the skeleton that he saw was a Procompsognathus, and yet Ed Regis is still doing the exact same thing. Oh, yeah, no, it's probably just a new species of lizard biting kids and things like that.
Yep.
Anyway, sorry, Spaghetti.
No, you're good. I think this is seen like this whole idea of people are truly in denial with a lot of things. I mean, it goes back to that whole, oh yeah, we don't want to believe something that seems impossible, and we tend to try to go against that. And I think that's what these scenes that been coming up kind of like show the deniable, or is the word deniability? I think,
Mhm.
yeah, deniability of what humans actually do. They try to fill the code, if you will, um, and fill in the pieces as something to make it seem reasonable or true. When in fact, this case, they try to deny that, hey, it's a dinosaur, when the facts are right in their face. So um, that's just going back to the point that you had, Strax. But
Mhm.
I don't think it's just the people that work there. that are in, like, denial they have control, but also the natural making of being in denial for things that are unexplained.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because people tend to want to fill in the puzzle pieces themselves.
Yep.
So
Yep, and then they want to do it quick, and that's what Hammond does this entire. He's trying as much as there's some spare no expense style movement in here, but he's also trying to do this as fast as possible because he wants to see all this stuff happen before he goes. Because in this, he's 70 years old. So, Grant Grant talks to I think it's an investigator or a lawyer about asking about the park and everything, and like, hey, like why, or asking about John Hammond and stuff, because there's I think it's for the Environmental Protection Agency, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, and they're trying to figure out what Hammond's up to, but he's being very secretive towards them. So whenever Hammond finds out, he's like, "Oh, you're not the only one that he's asking about. You're not the only one that's being asked about this. What's going on with me and the affairs in your consultation, or what you've done for us." And they've asked every single person. Then he goes, "A matter of fact, I'm actually bringing a bunch of the ones that were my consultors. I'm bringing them to this island this weekend. So I'm gonna, if you can you come to this island?" And then Grant's like, "I don't know. We have to dig and everything." And we kind of we got unearthed the skeleton, and of course you're familiarized with that. And Hammond does this thing where he's like, "I tell you what, I'll pay for, I think it's 3 weeks or so, or three digs or something like that, just to cover them out for a while, or 3 seasons, I think is what he says. I'll cover you for 3 seasons here." And that's whenever Dr. Grant, and then, okay, all right. But of course, the entire time he's talking and all that, like, but Ellie's hearing everything that's going on over the phone because it's on loudspeaker and stuff, and they're just kind of talking about this. So it's crazy, just the arrogance that you pick right off the bat with John Hammond in this. Yeah. So, which we're gonna go ahead and go to, I think, the next scene here. We kind of, because everybody's kind of getting gathered up and getting ready to go. I think they go on the plane. They're getting ready to go to Costa Rica, then go out to the island. Well, we kind of cut to where we get our Dennis Nedry scene, and of course we have a little bit of an explanation with Biosin and Lewis Dodgson. We get a nice little explanation on how he's doing things, because he's very cutthroat now that he's in charge of Biosin. So he likes to go and he reverse engineers other people's ideas. So this is where we kind of get he wants to reverse engineer the idea of these dinosaurs, because he knows there's something going on here with these dinosaurs. He just doesn't know. So this is where we get introduced to that scene that we all know is with Dennis Nedry and Lewis Dodgson.
real quick, when does the clone elephant come into play?
That is actually during that, I think, is actually during, like, kind of a little bit this explanation with Biosin. That's kind of during this part here, where he's
Okay,
like,
good.
because they kind of do it like a little bit before it and a little bit during it, because I think Dodson kind of explains a little bit, because he knows he wants to do smaller pets and stuff with these and whatnot. Well, he explains this. They explain this small elephant that Hammond has, and that it's a cool thing and everything, but it ended up getting like colds very easily, so it was very hard to take care of and stuff, because of just how unhealthy it was, because they're still kind of in the beginning stages of, hey, how are we going to do this and stuff. Well, he did this small little elephant, and it would sneeze, and I think it would cause some issues and whatnot with people, because you couldn't really touch it or pet it because it would get angry.
It's because I think it was closed up in a little bird cage,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, it was closed up in a little itty bitty, just a little bird cage, and this thing just kept on kind of being like a little.
Well, there's the symbolism symbolism to the dinosaurs.
Yeah,
They have bigger cages, and they're like, "I want free."
yeah, yeah, and then that just shows with John Hammond how he is. Now going on with the whole Dennis Nedry in this thing. I think the guy's like 27 or something in this.
Yeah, he's a young buck.
Yep. He's 27 years old in this. So we're gonna go ahead and start this whole scene off with you, Straxwill.
Yeah. So in this scene, we learn about Biosyn. We learn a little bit about Dodgson and how crafty this man is, and we also learn about our new villain, Dennis Nedry, and how intelligent he is and how valuable he is. And Crichton does a nice job of kind of like analyzing these characters and putting them out. Because right off the bat, Dodgson's talking. He's like, they're doing something on this island, spending a lot of money, and we know they're cloning dinosaurs. And for him, it's about money. Because he was even, I think, mentioning at one point, like, what if we could clone little small dinosaurs and make them micropet? Who wouldn't want that in their house, to feed and use them as pets?
Mm.
So he's thinking about all of the money portion of it. He doesn't care about the retribution or doesn't care about the dangers or anything like that. All he cares about is how much money can I make off this and how can I get it? And in that moment, he exploits a weakness in one of the staff of the island, and that is Dennis Nedry himself. And in Dennis Nedry, we learn about his background being extremely intelligent in the computer world, and he was asked to do way more than a single person should be asked to control an entire computer network for this massive island with tons of power grids, all kinds of rides and different things like that. Of course, in the development team, we learn about Mr. Arnold later also being a part of that. But I think what this scene does is it adds up the mystery of greed. Like it drives us to do things without thinking about the consequences. As long as I get that big ticket reward in the end, how do I get it? Who cares who gets hurt during the process? I need the money. I need the power. I need these things because if someone else has it over me, I'm not in control. So again, we're back to the whole control thing. Like who is going to have ownership of this power that has been dropped? And then even later, I think almost next scene, they go right into Ian Malcolm and he starts talking a little bit about it. So this scene was interesting. I liked it.
Yeah.
It's got that little spy kind of feel to it. And you learn that, the characters are a lot deeper than just, oh, I'm a villain or, oh, I'm this and that. And I love how he breaks them down.
Corporate espionage.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate espionage.
He plays on the different types of, I guess, dangers in this process. Just like you said, corporate espionage. We have animal danger. We have, later we learn about the hurricane and those dangers. There's all kinds of interesting things here.
Yep. All right, Sag. One second, Sag. I'm not getting any audio.
I got it.
Yeah.
So I was just saying, perfectly said. The thing, like the introducing the two of them, although it's like such a quick thing, you pretty much know all the important things about these two characters. You got the greedy, fed up, resentful worker, and you got the paranoid, clearly nefarious, up to no good other businessman. And I believe Dodson even he's even saying like he doesn't want them to be mentioning InGen and these companies by name. He only wants it to be said like one. He only wants his name to be said once. He's clearly on edge and paranoid about the whole thing. And again, it tells you it's setting up everything. It tells you all you need to know without shoving it down your throat of explaining this is who this character is. This is what they're about. You get the perspectives. You understand what's in it for both of them. You understand why Dodgen is able to find his way in through this character. And again, as another thing that is just setting the breadcrumbs up perfectly for what will eventually come next.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I agree 100%. It is another breadcrumb. I mean, Michael Crichton, just in general, was really good within this whole book to set up everything. Like, it's just amazing. And using these two characters, oh, hey, we got more villains, more than just the dinosaurs. We got to worry about people, too. Woo! Amazing.
Yeah.
But it just a really, really, really good scene to incorporate, to bring more of the mystery into the whole book.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It's It's this is the moment where it's showing that there's just such a, like, Hammond is turning such a blind eye to actually what's going on in the background, not researching, hey, this is what's going on. Is there anybody in my staff that can be like bribed or anything by this? And with Dennis Nedry, he had financial problems just like he did in the movie. He had financial problems and he was just not good off of what he did. So this led to the inevitable. So going out from Nedry, we go on to, of course, we go through the plane. We go through the plane and stuff, and they're discussing a whole bunch of stuff. And like me and Malcolm, this is where he's starting to thrive because he's starting to explain a lot that's going on. Like I think he starts to kind of explain a little bit more of what he's doing there. So on this plane, there is actually Dennis Nedry is on the plane with them as well. It's gonna Nedry, Ellie, Grant, Malcolm, and Hammond. I think also Gennaro is on the plane as well. They're
Pretty
kind of
sure, yeah.
and they're trying to explain a little bit of what's going on. Like they explain what's going on, and we get to the island and everything. And as we're on this island, we're on Isla Nublar. I think it's as they're kind of flying, getting ready to kind of land, because I think they noticed from the plane, because this is how I kind of interpreted it myself. They noticed from the plane that there's these trees, and they're big long. They're leaves. There's no leaves. Big long necks, and Grant's starting to realize, wait a second, that's a patasaur or brontosaurus that they actually see early on. So the brontosaurus is one of the, or instead of it being the brachiosaurus, this is the brontosaurus that they see in the beginning.
Was it a plane?
It might have been a helicopter, because I think they went through a plane.
It was a plane.
Yeah, it was a plane.
It was a plane. It was a plane in the book. I actually
Okay.
don't remember.
Yeah, so
It was a plane.
so they got their plane, and this is whenever they were on the island and stuff. I can't remember all the stuff that they said on the plane itself for some
Yeah,
reason.
he breaks down the chaos theory on
Yeah.
the plane.
Yeah, that's where they break down the
Malcolm. Talks about the butterfly effect. I think one of the examples he uses is the weather example. It's an unbelievably complex system, and that's how he breaks it down for the reader, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and explain like all the. That's why like, there's so much technical stuff that's said on these moments where they're just kind of going through. They're explaining, like he's explaining all these details by detail, everything that can lead up to what's going on. And he's the entire time telling Hammond this entire time, you should not do this, of course, how he is in the movie. But getting onto that plane, you're like, oh no, or on the island, you're just like, oh no, we probably shouldn't. What's going on here? You got dinosaurs and stuff, and you kind of go through to where they're traveling through. They see, of course, the brontosauruses and stuff, and I think you get the whole welcome to Jurassic Park and stuff, but it's more of a title to it. I don't think it says welcome to Jurassic Park. Well, yeah.
I think he uses a pool table during that too to break down complex systems versus simple systems.
Yeah.
And he's like, nature's unbelievably complex. What we're attempting to do here is unbelievably simple. And simple things lead to complex results.
Yep.
Complex things lead to simple effects.
Yep.
And that's a repeating theme there, and that's a consistent thing. That's where the brilliance of Ian Malcolm comes in, because you just have the consistent arrogance of the scientists who he even brings up. I'm looking for the quote itself where he says something along the lines of, your scientists are like a little boy who's found his father's gun. Like you guys you guys have no idea what you're doing, and they're playing God. And again, the fact that they're talking about something like this, oh, we're just doing something simple here, is just continuing to hammer in very early on the fatal flaw that will ultimately be what brings this park down from within, which is the arrogance of its creators.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the thing with Ian Malcolm. Like he explains that he the entire time he's literally explaining the stupidity of what's going on. And he's given his forewarning to Hammond, Gennaro. He's given it to everybody, and they don't want. They still want to. Oh, let's keep on trying this to do this because we want to do this because this is the same thing with Dodson. Money, and hurrying up. We want to be the first to do this. It's all about the race to be the first.
Listen to the creator of the book, dang it.
Yeah, and
That's who he and Malcolm is.
yeah, and we also get an explanation because Ellie Sattler's there too, and she sees all these plants. Like, wait, that plant there is poisonous. They see that it looks beautiful. This thing is poison, and she's looking through this. They have these plants in like their lobbies and stuff.
Yep.
They're
They
like,
have no idea what
Yeah.
century they're in, but they
Yeah,
will
we
defend
do get that
themselves.
scene
Yeah.
for the movie too.
yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like you guys have this inside your lobby, like it's a beautiful plant, but this is poison if it's ingested by a kid or something like that. So
Mhm.
it'll be. I think it's not lethal to adults, but to kids, it would be lethal if they were to get a hold of it. They have no idea. They don't care. They just what it looked like, what they see.
And then again, back to the book with the whole chaos theory thing. One of my favorite parts of the book was just as the chapters went on, the pictures that went along with the chaos theory diagrams as it advanced and got more complex and crazy and unraveling with the plot as it went on.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep, and then it gets like so. I'm gonna go ahead. I actually had this written down because I want to name everybody that's going to be on this island, and this is more along the lines of who's going to be on the island. Like these are just all the characters that I could actually name. Multiple papers here. I need to keep going. Okay, so in the book, and we're gonna try to go through so that way we can get to the movie as well, discussing the movie a lot more. But with the book on the island, you have Dennis Nedry, Robert Muldoon, Henry Wu, Arnold, Ray Arnold, I think is his name in this too. Brant, Ellie, Malcolm, Lex, Tim, Harding, Hammond. You have a bunch of workers, of course. Ed Regis, and that is the amount of characters that are on the island. And whenever we get to the movie, you'll see the comparison there whenever we get to the movie. But like you have all these characters on there, and like they meet up, and they're all doing the same thing that they did in the movie, where they're chatting and like talking about, hey, this is a bad idea. And Hammond, of course, is kind of like, well, you got to see what we're gonna give you first before you can start saying that. Like you got Hammond, where he gets really, and this is where like he's getting yelled at by Gennaro, because this is where he invites Lex and Tim. Oh, he finds out Lex and Tim are here because they thought it was the embryo or the specimen getting there, but it wasn't. It was the kids, and he found out that they were bringing the kids in. We're going to get to this later on why he brought the kids there, which is really,
It's messed up.
yeah, it's messed up. Why he actually brought the kids there.
I actually don't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we'll discuss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're gonna get to that. So, with how you have all this explanation and just showing just the arrogance, you get so much of the arrogance of what John Hammond is in this. It's crazy. He's not seeing the big picture about things, and I think they kind of start learning a little bit early on about. I think they kind of learn on early about breeding and stuff. They're kind of talking about breeding and stuff on the island and stuff. Like getting the explanation in the genetic. Oh no, none of them can because all the dinosaurs here are female and stuff.
Yeah.
So, is there any moments from them getting off of the plane to the Velociraptor paddock? Any point from there that you guys have seen and deemed to where you're like, oh, we got to talk about this?
I mean, they introduced Dr. Wu, and I think what's important about Dr. Wu's scene is he mentions like mathematical certainties. You know, he's a very precise person. And even later in the book, he talks about like it was so perfect they were able to reproduce. That's how perfect it was. And this is a man who was so sure of himself that he had no idea that his own creation, was out of control.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's something. And then it also talks about the difference between zoos and Jurassic Park. Um, Zoos are already tried in this environment, I think is what Malcolm is talking to, and then later talks about like, but Jurassic Park isn't a zoo for this time, so you don't know what's coming. And it also shows that disgruntledness between the characters. So like Hammond reacting to Malcolm, like you can see like Hammond straight up hates Ian Malcolm through this. I think at one time he calls him like a snot or something like
Yeah.
that, or something crazy. I think this is important development for the reader to see like, hey, we have good versus evil, we have moral versus immoral, we have strong versus weak, there's all kinds of different things happening
Mm-hmm.
here. So a lot of it's filler.
Yeah, a lot of it's definitely a lot of filler in there. And I think during this time too, you get a little bit Wu kind of says something. I think it's during it might be a little bit after. Wu explains to John Hammond how he wants to go to the next they call it next series or next source.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going with these dinosaurs because they're too much like dinosaurs. He wanted to slow them down. He wanted to slow like the raptors and stuff down, so they're not as fast, because it look like the way that they're realistic is they're moving the exact speed that these dinosaurs. It looked unreal. It looked like they sped it up because he wanted to slow it down so people can see it. But Hammond, of course, doing his thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, we want real dinosaurs. We don't want to go to the next level of them. We want to stay right where they're at because they're real dinosaurs, and this is what people want to see. They don't want to see fake, slowed down dinosaurs. They want to see them doing their actual thing. Yeah. That goes with the arrogance of John Hammond again.
Yeah. Also, I think breaks down Nedry and like how they were able to develop computer software to map all of these things, and the amount of sheer data that had to go into controlling this park, right? Showing, the simple idea of I'm going to bring back a dinosaur to how complex it is, right? That theme that Raj had brought up, or Saj had brought up a little bit earlier, that plays out through here as well. Because I mean, they even break down how they mapped it, everything, how they put them into the eggs, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like was just mentioned about Dr. Wu, like obviously this is later on, but like he doesn't even see like the imperfections of his dinosaurs. They're not supposed to be able to reproduce, but even when they do, he's like, "Oh, it's perfect. They're perfect. This is just how I intended." So it's like he's so deluded to the fact it's the perfect group of people because they're all deluded to the idea that they could do no wrong, and this is all just part of the process, and it's all happening like it should, and it's just all building the perfect example of why this could never happen and why you cannot have scientists playing God like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It also introduces the baby raptor, I think, somewhere in there, and it talks about the innocence of it. These are innocent like the children. I think the kids are actually playing with it, and it's almost metaphoric. They have no idea what they're dealing with is a deadly predator. Yeah. It's adorable. What do they eat? Mice. Here's this itty bitty little thing playing with it, and they have no idea what this thing will become.
And
so it's very metaphorical.
Yeah, and then I think it was Wu or not Regis, because Ed Regis during this too is not helping at all, because he's getting mad at Grant holding this baby velociraptor up and examining it, because he's seeing everything about this, because he's seeing what he's studying in real life just right in front of him, and he's holding this dinosaur up, opening it up, and it's screaming, and Ed Regis says, "No, you got to put him back. You got to put him back over there. You got to give him back to the kid because he likes being around warmth. You got to be careful with that. That's a very expensive animal right there. You got to be careful with it."
Yep.
Don't damage the property.
Yep. Everything is just, we own this. This is ours.
It's all about the assets.
Yep, all about the assets. Spaghetti, what do you got about anything during those scenes?
same thing. I mean, it was pretty much laid on the table about these characters. They
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of filler, like Strax was saying, and it's yeah, that's really all I have to say about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
It does let you get to know in more detail about most of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
Yeah, and then yeah, it's just during that entire time, you hear both Hammond and Ed Regis. They're both just like, oh, this will be fine. We don't know what's going on. Oh, we don't know everything about these, but it'll ever be. We got this under control. We engineered them this way. Everything's gonna work out for us. We're not nothing's gonna go wrong at all. And even told by his own geneticist, hey, let's try to go to this night. Hammond don't care. Regis don't care. They're just making sure that nothing gets damaged, nothing at all. And we go and we go over to all the kids. The kids are there. I think it's just Lex or it's just Tim goes with, because I think Lex stays kind of back with Ed Regis and they're playing ball or something like that. And they all go over to the raptor paddock.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where it kind of gets a little. They see a little bit more of just Jurassic Park in general's arrogance to the situation on what they have here. The Floor Raptors are testing the fences systematically, like we're dealing with Muldoon and Muldoon's here, and he has a little bit of a worry about these things because he's seen what they can do. Bless you. He's yeah, and he's seen firsthand kind of on what these animals can do, and he's explaining to Hammond and stuff about, hey, we need to have like more lethal stuff around here, and of course they don't want to have the lethal stuff, so because they don't want to destroy these expensive animals they put money into, invested in.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and kind of get around with like Robert Muldoon and the raptor paddock with everyone.
There you go. Would you like me to read a portion of it?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna start right where he is at the paddock, and then we can kind of discuss. We'll probably open up with Saj here. I'll let him kind of take the reins and we'll go from there. But this is the portion I'll read for you. So Grant waited. Several seconds passed. Flies buzzed in the air. He saw nothing. Ellie tapped him on the shoulder and pointed. Amid the ferns, Grant saw a head of an animal. It was motionless, partially hidden in the ferns, the two large dark eyes watching them coldly. The head was 2 feet long. From the painted snout, a long row of teeth ran back to the hole of the auditory meatus, which served as an ear. The head reminded him of a large lizard, or perhaps a crocodile. The eyes did not blink, and the animal did not move. Its skin was leathery, with a pebbled texture, and basically the same coloration as the infant's yellow-brown with darker reddish markings, like the stripes of a tiger. As Grant watched, a single forelimb reached up very slowly to part the ferns beside the animal's face. The limb, Grant saw, was strongly muscled. The hand had 3 grasping fingers, each ended in a curved claws. The band gently, I can't see what this word is. So the bend gently, slowly pushed aside the ferns, something like that. Grant felt a chill and thought, he's hunting us. For a mammal like man, there was something incredibly alien about the way reptiles hunted their prey. No wonder men hated reptiles. The stillness, the coldness, the pace was all wrong. To be among alligators or other large reptiles was to be reminded of a different kind of life, a different kind of world, now varnished from the earth. Of course, this animal didn't realize that he had been spotted, the attack came suddenly from the left and the right. Charging raptors covered 10 yards to the fence with shocking speed. Grant had blurred the impression of powerful 6-foot-tailed bodies, stiff balancing tails, limbs with curving claws, open jaws with rows of jagged teeth. The animals snarled as they came forward, and then hurling their bodies into the air, raising their hind legs and their big dagger claws. Then they struck the fence in front of them, throwing off bursts of hot sparks. The velociraptors fell backwards to the ground, hissing. The visitors all moved forward, fascinating. Only then did the third animal attack, leaping up to strike the fence at chest level. Tim screamed in fright as the sparks exploded all around him. The creature snarled, a low reptilian hissing sound, and leapt back among the ferns. Then they were gone, leaving behind a faint odor of decay and banging amid smoke. And then after that, it kind of gets a little fast, but I won't go too far into it. But
Mhm.
he then says, pack hunters. Grant said, shaking his head, pack hunters for whom ambush is an instinct.
Mhm. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
That took me right back into it.
Just read the whole book.
Yeah,
let's
keep
just do
going.
that part.
Yeah, just read the whole book. Right? We get it's only about, I think it would take about, I think each audio book was like 10 hours or something like that. We got this 11 hours. 11 hours.
It does make me want to jump into the book again real quick.
Yeah, no, literally.
That's just very picturesque, you know, every detail there.
Yeah. Yeah, it shows the beauty of this novel, and I highly recommend. You can find it on Audible. You can also find hard copies.
Yeah, you can find it digital.
Yep, digital.
I have the copies.
Yep.
Both of them.
Yep. So you can,
digitally as
yeah,
well.
you can read these books anywhere. And if you like Jurassic Park, you'll love these. Jurassic Park novel and book. There's not, you can't really say, oh, I like this better than that, because they're both such individuals. They have such an individual feel about them. So if you really like Jurassic Park, I highly recommend these books.
Yep.
But
You have
There's
so
a-
much. You have so much information in these books. You could make several videos about it.
mhm,
There's another part to this where Ian Malcolm says they're not too smart, are they? Or they don't seem intelligent, do they? And then later the man nods and says, be thankful for that fence, senor. Or be glad for that fence. As
yeah,
he turned away. It just goes to show that one knew what he was dealing with because he saw firsthand what those things can do. And then the other, again, that same thing. Something simple is unbelievably complex.
yep,
Yeah, and I don't know if it's in this chapter. I can't remember exactly when it's brought up, but I believe it's Muldoon who's the one who explains further about this. And it's they're not stupid that they're just attacking the fence. They're doing it because they know what happens when they attack the fence, but they are constantly doing it to assess for weak spots, to constantly check for new openings. That's just what they're doing. They're constantly they're just as much messing with the people then the people think that they're just observing the raptors, and that's the thing that really just makes them truly horrifying. And again, more things about the raptors when we learn more about them. You learn more about the big one, and of course what she does in terrorizing the other ones, killing other ones, and stuff like that. It's just the book raptors are built up in such a great way. And again, the raptors in Jurassic Park the movie are as so iconic as they are, but the book raptors, it's just a whole new like personality towards the fact that there's truly like a sinister nature to them.
They remember.
Yep.
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 How about you, Spaghetti? You got anything on the Raptor paddock?
Scary. Simple. Scary. Could you imagine? I mean, Tim was there, and I am a Tim myself. Yeah. That's what they want. More teeth.
Yep.
That's what they're getting.
Yeah, they don't know the true intelligence of these animals at all. They have no idea what these animals are capable of, and they've clearly gotten out. And this is what everybody kind of goes down with in the beginning of the book, that worker that got attacked, that this was what he was attacked by. And we're going to really dive more into that because we kind of get a little bit more towards the tour. So we're going to go ahead and kind of go towards the tour. If there's anything in between, go ahead and like bring that up in any of your statements on this. But we're going to go ahead and kind of start with the tour and how it's kind of, you get more explanations about stuff, and you kind of you get a little like, you actually do see the dinosaurs, because I think the first dinosaurs they see are the Hypsilophodons or something like that, I think is what they're called. And these ones, they consider the gazelles of the dinosaurs. So they'll leap elegantly through, but they can also climb as well. So they look up and they can see these Hypsilophodons just gradually grazing and climbing up in trees. I'm like,
One on the branches.
yeah, I'm like, these things they climb now?
They climb now.
Yeah, and then I think it goes into the Dilophosaurs right after that as well. I think
Yep.
you got Dilophosaurs, and And of course, you go to the Rex enclosure and everything. So we're going to go ahead and start this off with you, Strax.
So if we're getting into the tour kind of thing, I know that Tim is able to kind of point them out, and then they find them, and it's all going according to plan. But I've just to kind of backtrack a little bit at the end of that paddock scene. I think I remember Ian Malcolm saying something that is still stuck with me. It's a little chilling, and it's like animals aren't born man killers. So at some point, these dinosaurs had to learn that they were easy to kill,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he would very much like to see that control room. But I know as they're kind of going through and they're talking through the cars and we continue to the Dilophosaurs and stuff, Ed Regis is still putting stuff off like it's nothing. When they're talking about the Dilophosaurs, oh, we learned that they spit stuff and they're dangerous. We had people get hit by it, and it's like numbing and all that, and it all just gets played off. It's like this innocent little tour that people are going to take, but they have no idea how dangerous it is. And that if those controls go, all of those dangers are unleashed.
Yeah.
And the way that he paints this through the tour is just unbelievable.
Yeah, and
And I think they still use Richard Kiley.
they still, yep, they spare no expense.
Yep. Except when it comes to employees.
Oh yeah, employees and actually paying attention to, hey, we need to make sure there's also security because people's lives are more important than these assets they keep talking about. And I know Regis talks about how, we got anti-venom and stuff around here, so everything's fine, but it's still like, why do you need dinosaurs that spit? They've done operations on the Dilophosaurs as well.
Yeah.
Because they were trying
to remove the glands. Yeah, he does say that.
Yeah.
Like they tried to figure out where the glands are, but it still comes back and they don't know what it actually comes from.
Yeah.
And then they talk about those other animals. They have like the intelligence of a cow, which gets referenced in the movie as well. That's another little thing. So it's just the unawareness of what's happening, You pick them because they look good, that kind of thing.
I think that was the Hypsilophodons that were the intelligence of a cow too.
Yeah, because even the kids were saying they're boring.
Yeah, they're boring. Yeah, they're boring. We want to see more. And of course, Hammond in the background's like, look, they want to see these meat. They want to see the meat eaters. They want to see the metasauruses. They want to see these. They want to see these because they want to be scared. They don't want to just be sitting there seeing these alligators. They want to be scared. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I can imagine the wonder, because you see the wonder of the kids. They're excited to see it. Even the adults, to a degree, were very excited to see these animals. Excited
and scared is how I would really how I feel that the adults felt. Like the experts that were there, like, this is cool and all, but.
Yeah, and I also think this is the point in the story, maybe a little bit earlier, where we, the audience, come in line with the characters. Because now we don't know what's going to happen.
Yep.
But we have seen that they're dangerous. We have seen that, we're curious as to what's going on. So we have now come into the same atmospheric thought of the actual characters, which is another interesting part of the beginning of the tour.
Yeah. Basically, that's kind of basically what I was going to kind of go into about how at this point we are very well established now. Boom, we're getting into the tour, but it's pretty the tone of getting into the tour is very I don't want to say calm, but at the same time we're on edge because we're like, we know something is going to go wrong, but you're just waiting for it to happen. And so far, seems like everything is cool, everything's fine. And we get John Hammond, of course, in the background, really just talking about and emphasizing we spare no expense with all the technological advances. We have the fences. They're talking again more insight about the dinosaurs and stuff like that. But again, his mind is all on the while they're getting into it. Is you just continue to hammer in his focus of this guy really doesn't care about the safety or the fact that he's playing God and bringing these things back to life. He's just thinking about, I'm trying to run a theme park and look at my theme park that I set up. Look how cool this theme park is. Isn't my theme park looking good? And it's really starting to set the tone of, you can see how this can go wrong. It's just a matter of waiting to see what is going to be the domino that sets this all in motion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the tour scene in general, it's iconic with the movie as well. But yeah, it's setting up everything, and you're on the edge of your seat trying to wait. Okay, like Saj was saying, is oh, something's gonna happen. Now we're just waiting when. Let's do it. Let's get into the motion of where this book is going. So
Yep. Yeah, and it is a very iconic moment in this entire in both book and movie, this tour. But of course, in the movie you don't see anything in this tour in the beginning. But it leaves to the eeriness too that Spielberg was trying to capture with this moment. It was like, hey, we want to make sure too, because our audience, we got to make it feel like they're also on this tour as well.
Yep.
And for like this tour, it's crazy. In the book, you see everything. Like we get to the Tyrannosaur paddock, you see, I think both the juvenile and the adult, and they see how tall this is, because I think they bring up a goat. Well, I don't know why I can't remember, because I read this book twice in a month, and somehow I can't remember the freaking goat.
Yeah, they bring one up.
Yeah, yeah, they bring it up. Yeah, yeah, and this you see in how this thing kills. You see, because you got two Rexes in this. By the way, there are two Rexes, an adult and a juvenile.
Separated, correct?
Yep. They keep to different parts of they're in the same paddock, but they keep to different parts because the juvenile knows better. Juvenile knows better. Yeah.
He speaks to.
Yeah. And they explain everything that goes on with the Tyrannosaur, and they're like they refer to, even though all the dinosaurs in the park are female, the Tyrannosaur is the only one that they refer to as him. It's just how they referred to it for years, for how whenever they develop these dinosaurs, and it's just how they feel the king of the dinosaurs. And it's definitely, this moment here just shows like they're all sitting there like, oh wow, because you can actually smell whenever this thing's around too, because you can smell rotten flesh and stuff.
Rot. Yep.
Yeah, it's all you smell off of this thing.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and let's go through the Tyrannosaur paddock scene here just a little bit. Go ahead, Strax.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so in this specific scene, we learn about Ed Regis, and we learn about Robert Muldoon as well, and John Hammond in the character development. I know that Hammond is very excited that they're there, and Muldoon is like not, because he's terrified, for good reason, obviously. But we learn that whenever they bring up the goat to eat it, the T-Rex comes out of the foliage, and they're like all astounded and whatnot. It goes down to eat it, and it's like prowling, looking around, and Ed Regis is like, oh yeah, it's just looking just in case the other T-Rex wants to come by and steal its meal. It's something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And we learn that, what is it afraid of? Oh, it's afraid the other one will come and take its meal. What's interesting about his development here, and you'll find out later why this is almost karmactic. He's like playing with this idea that, oh, they're in a cage. I've seen this 1,000 times. This is cool. You all are going to love this. Like he's playing a game with this very dangerous piece of technology that he has no idea what it is. And really, it's not tech, it's a living organism. He has no idea what it is, and he's playing with it, ironically, as this goat's getting mauled. And you're going to learn later what happens to him. We'll probably talk about it, right?
Yeah. Definitely. We'll be learn about this. Like, we're going to kind of start a little bit speed through, but of course, take whatever time you need, especially whenever it comes to more serious, like whenever we get to these serious points in this book. It's going to be, we're going to cut into the movie too here, and like we'll probably bring it kind of into our discussion here as we're going through. So let's go ahead and continue, Saj.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember honestly, because we're at the point with some of these scenes where some of it's actually starting to blur together for me. But
Same here.
correct me if I'm wrong about the book, but I'm pretty sure when they first roll up on the T-Rex paddock, they do notice that something seems wrong, because isn't it in the book that the fences are off as well?
Not
Or
sure.
maybe I'm just misremembering that.
After the storm and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that they can something. It's just already ominous when they roll up,
Hmm.
and it's just the way that, and like you mentioned, you got some people there are a little bit nervous because they're like, okay, I'm not with this. The you got because of course you got the lawyer perspective, and then but then Hammond who's just hyping this up nonstop. This is the big thing. This is the big thing, and everyone's on edge. And then my favorite thing is the perspective of Alan Grant, who is the paleontologist, because this was Alan Grant was always my favorite character because he was the guy that made me want to be a paleontologist when I was a little kid. The guy that's
Mhm.
digging up dinosaurs thrown into this world, and it's kind of like Alan Grant is almost the perspective of that little kid that loves the dinosaurs, and this is all that he's about. And now he's here actually seeing these things for real, and so his perspective of rolling up and seeing him and the amazement of just the total shock when the T-Rex does finally step out is just a scene that again it's very well put to the book and it's perfectly captured in the movie, and it's just one of those moments you'll never forget. But again, we all know what this gets into. But again, both versions do a fantastic job of just setting the scene where nothing's even happened yet, nothing's even gone wrong yet, but it's just immediately, even from the supposed safety they have, it's like this is not enough, and of course we find out it's not.
Nope.
Mhm. Are we at the first paddock or the second paddock? Just to clarify for my reference.
For what do you mean? For the
The
T
first time
Rex?
they go to the T Rex
Yeah,
paddock,
this is the
or
yeah,
when
this
they're
is the
repairing?
yeah, this is the first time I really go to the T Rex
No
paddock.
show.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
like it starts
But
off
they
a
were
little
there.
bit. Yeah, it starts off as like a little bit of a no show, but then I think they notice the juvenile down by the lagoon, kind of watching the. I think the apatosaurs are in like the next paddock over or something like that.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yep, yep.
It's either the
And he tells them,
apatos.
"Oh, they
Yeah,
can't get to him because there's a moat."
yeah, he
You
likes to
know.
play over there, but that it's showing in the torture too. They like, hey, I want to go after those things over there. Why am I stuck in this little paddock here and I get fed this goat? I never even get to. How often does that juvenile even get to eat?
I don't get to
Yeah,
choose my meals.
Yeah.
and that's a great moment of calling back to earlier where it's like the birdcage comparison of, although it seems like you have these creatures in a pretty large paddock, to them they are literally like in bird cages because these guys were like their territories, the dinosaurs in their time were not these little plots of a few acres of land. And so again, like you said, he's just not only are they in these like bird cage enclosures, but you're tempting them nonstop by the nice juicy steak right across the street.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't want to have.
Yum.
Yeah, I don't want to have this goat. And most of the time, I end up getting maybe a leg or two.
T Rex doesn't want to be fed; he wants to hunt.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is where it gets really blurry for me. Since the last time I read the book, it's kind of like going all together, going
yeah,
through, and yeah.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah, yeah. We'll try to at least to where as long as it kind of gets like a little bit of reminder, we'll try to get whatever reminder we can. So if you can kind of go off like anything that we say, like, oh yeah, that's right, it'll jog your memory and stuff. So whatever
yeah.
you can do, and like whatever you give us. So, but yeah, we kind of after this whole T Rex scene, or the T Rex paddock, they kind of move, and I think they start talking a little bit more. Was there any more Malcolm talking during this point at all, Strax?
It goes into explaining their security features.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, here's how we monitor them. Here's what's going on. We start to break down a lot of the inside characters, such as Robert Muldoon, his background. Then we also start talking about like, Dennis Nedry and him being a slob. All of this is while they're kind of going through.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think there's something else that happens where Tim notices what he sees as a velociraptor.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a very important scene because it's the first telltale sign that their whole system does not work. Because Tim, children, again, misidentification, because as you see, he foreshadowed that in the future with the small Compsognathus with the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Tim does the exact same thing here. And again, Ed Regis is like, no, you couldn't have because we know exactly where they are. We know how many they are. He's like, no, I'm telling you, that was a juvenile velociraptor. There's no way.
Hmm.
There's no way you could know that. He just misidentified. I'm sure it was this.
Yeah, yeah. He says, "Hey, we need to stop." Yeah, he says we need to stop the car, and that's where he says, "Oh, this is kind of a ride, so we can't really stop this thing."
That is. I think that is exactly what he says
Yeah,
too.
that's where we hear that line. Sag, were you gonna say something, Sag?
Yeah, just like how pretty much just confirming like the downplay of it, the
Hmm.
total dismissal of the kid's opinion, although the kid probably knows is probably in the top three of knowledge about dinosaurs in general compared to these people who are just compared about the numbers and the logistics of it.
Hmm.
Well, isn't there's some detail with Tim and his father, right?
Yeah.
They go to a museum, and his dad has no interest basically, and he's just wow,
Yeah,
amazed
he
by the
counts.
bones.
Yeah, he counts all the vertebrae, and he's like, "Oh, it's amazing. You know all the vertebrae, huh?"
And
And
those are key important details even for the children,
oh yes,
in this and
you
how they are.
you
So
just reminded me of something too. There is a moment. There is something in this book with Grant. He loves children. He loves children because their love of dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's a
They
big
yeah,
difference
and he's like
from the movie.
they can say all these hard like Stegosaurus, Diplodocus, Tyrannosaurus, Velociraptors. They can say all these names, these long names that would most of us would be like me, Procompsognathus. I can barely pronounce that, but them they'd be right on. And so this is another thing too. We already haven't established that Grant actually loves kids. Ellie and Grant are not a thing in this. They're actually not in a relationship in this game. That kind of got explained too, because in these next scenes here, because we kind of go up because we all know in the movie they see a sick Triceratops. Well, in this it's a sick Stegosaurus. So as they're going down there, uh they kind of have that explanation there on Ellie because I think Tim asked, "Hey, you should marry Ellie or whatever." It said something about marrying Ellie. Like, oh no, I think this might be a little bit later on. Like, oh no, she's in a month or like next year planning on marrying a guy a doctor or something like that. So there's none of that established in here. So this is how I kind of like. I always thought that because I'm like I would feel that a man who loves dinosaurs like Grant does would love a child how their affinity for dinosaurs are and just that fascination and he loves to explain it because Tim actually explains about these vertebrae and then Alan Grant is literally like, oh yeah, they've been wanting to change that for a while, they know about it, they just wanted to change it for a while. Like I know because I think that was one of his that he sent in or something.
yeah, the kids know the little details, which is what he loves.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And that's it's going through. Like sometimes you do have to listen to a kid. You know, like, these kids they know these details. Like, hey, this is what was seen. So, yeah, kids can play around and stuff. So, but yeah, we get a nice little. This is where we get the moment with the Stegosaurus being sick, and they explain another reason why this park is not a good idea and how arrogant they are. So go ahead, Strax.
Yeah, I love the way that Creighton writes. He has these little hints in there throughout this entire scene as they're doing this tour. I think there's even a spot where the radio was going static. He's like, "Oh, this one doesn't work," and then right after that, they go to the control room, and I'm like 99% sure that's whenever Nedry starts doing his thing
Mm.
to kind of get out. And it's just like,
Uh-uh.
"Yep, this is where it starts. That's the catalyst."
Yep.
And it was literally just one disgruntled person that's
Yep.
like, "Hey, I know what I'm doing," and it all boils down to the same underlying theme. I know what I'm doing. I got it all under control. I know exactly what's happening, and then boom, everything goes to heck.
Yep. Yep, and it's yeah, it starts getting because you get the storm and stuff, and they know what's going on there. This is where the kids go. This is where everybody's getting ready to go back. Lexus in the book, she the entire time she's a kid. She's she'll complain about being hungry, needing to go to the bathroom and stuff, even if there's dinosaurs attacking and stuff.
She's younger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
than
she's
Timmy.
younger. She's like
Yeah, she is.
7, I think 6 or 7, and
Mhm.
then Tim's like 9 or 10.
Yeah, he's a little older.
Yeah, and she's just she's daddy's little girl and stuff, and Timmy's more of the just his own thing. Like he loves his mom and but he likes dinosaurs. That's his interest. And the entire time he's getting hassled by Lex about he's got dinosaurs on the brain, and Lex is doing what siblings do, where they tease and try to poke and prod at the other sibling. So during this entire time they're doing this, Lex and Gennaro are tossing a ball back and forth, and Malcolm and Gennaro are kind of talking about stuff. So, does anybody have that remember the conversation that they had during that?
Do you know about where in the book that was?
That would have been right after the T-Rex paddock.
I don't really remember.
But they start talking some more about the inherent issues that are going on.
Let me see.
See if I can locate something, but I don't know.
Yeah, so it says Malcolm brings up some of his concerns about the park's safety and the larger implications of tampering with nature. He expresses his belief that Jurassic Park is a dangerous and reckless experiment, one driven completely by greed and ambition rather than genuine scientific curiosity. He critiques the park's founders for not fully considering the consequences of their actions, referring to the nature of the park as a quote unquote closed system that was meant to be tightly controlled but is inherently chaotic. And this again ties more into his core beliefs in chaos theory and the fact that they're trying to control something that is inherently impossible to
Mhm.
control.
Yeah.
And then Gennaro, who's largely concerned with protecting the financial interests, is more focused on the profit and the image, and he's not really grasping the full danger. And he's much more dismissive of Malcolm's warnings, believing that the park will be fine as long as everything is marketed and managed well from the
Mhm.
financial perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. And again, that's what this whole book is like. We'll keep on saying this: the arrogance of humanity, to where they don't want to just stop and, like Malcolm said, they never thought if they always thought that they should, but never really thought that they should, why they shouldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were so preoccupied with figuring out if you could, you never really stopped and thought if you should.
Yes.
That's it.
Yep.
I think during the scene too, they also talk a little bit about the gizzard stones, and I
Mhm.
think they find an egg that they think's a dinosaur egg.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Dr. Harding is with them, and he says, "No, there's no way it could be. I'm sure it's just a bird egg." But then, like Grant, in his expertise, just like the X-rays, was like, "Well, it looks like the eggshells we would bring up, the same kind of patterns and such."
Unless you
whenever
guys
we build
got
them up.
what is it? Unless you got ostriches on this island.
Mhm.
Look, Timmy's right again.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like they keep on pointing this out, but like the entire time, even like Hammond's hearing all this stuff and like what they shouldn't do, and he's like, "Man, they are always on focusing on the negative. Why can't they just turn a blind eye to what could be a problem with this park and focus on? Look, there's a dinosaur right there."
Yep.
Like the arrogance of that man. And the entire time he's getting mad at Malcolm. Just like in the, I really hate that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I really
And
hate
his denial through it is
Yeah.
definitely there too.
Or do you think
Actually, I think he does. He pulls up the computer info when they find the egg, because I think Grant says it is a dinosaur egg, And Ham's like, "Oh no, pull up the computer," and then they look at all the numbers and say, "See, it has to be a mistake. That's not a dinosaur egg."
Oh wait, whoa, whoa!
Also,
I think this is the part where they're actually starting to see that there's more dinosaurs than we thought.
that there
This
was
is
an error.
yeah, this is where they're starting to see that the population control is not quite so perfect.
Yeah,
Yep.
because there's a point in the book where Malcolm's like, okay, you guys always went because there was a total of I think 235 dinosaurs on the island. It's their count, but they net because of all the sensors and stuff, they keep it up, and of course, like they take in the consideration of like other wildlife that's on Isla Nublar, but they also are like, okay, why don't you put in these numbers, because they're starting to put in this way to say, because but this is I think that happens a little bit after the failure of the fences and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
because
Well, the failure of the fence is when it was when all the electric was
or
not working.
yeah, like
Yeah.
right
So
before
I
that.
think this is before the storm. I'm pretty sure it's about this time when Alan Grant calls in. I don't know, the walkie talkies or whatever they have to communicate, um, to discuss this. And I think this is where the population thing starts
Yeah, that's right.
showing.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
then they figure out that's what it was. And then they figure out that what they had was what's called a convenience factor. So an expected amount of animals, they plug that in and it would always count accurately. But when they went above the count, they found that actually there were
yeah,
more dinosaurs. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute, that's a big flaw.
yeah. He
And
goes,
Nedry tells them, I didn't mess up. That's a convenience thing. Because they asked him, did you screw up? He's like, no, I didn't screw up.
yeah,
I remember that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where this was. I'm
yep,
pretty sure
yeah. So they
because
go ahead.
because I remember it starting with Tim and Tim seeing that dinosaur, and that's where, and then finally he sees that eggshell, and he's like, okay, we need to start talking about this truly, and that's where they realized, hey, the population is not actually the population that
Yeah,
they thought
Mhm.
it was.
Yeah,
yep,
they thought they had control again of the population, but they didn't. And I think Malcolm rubs it in their face too. I'm pretty sure he says, see, you were only tracking animals you expected to be there, but nature showed you that there's definitely more,
yep.
you know?
Yep. And then this is where they kind of get into the point where, all right, we're ready to go back. Well, this is where Harding, Sattler, and Gennaro stay back with the Stegosaurus just to kind of watch it and stuff. And then they're going to do their head back thing. And that's where they talk about the only reason that Gennaro wants to stay is because he's interested in Dr. Sattler. And that's kind of where it kind of gets a little bit more into the thing where they're like asking about her, about like, oh, what about you and Dr. Sattler, Dr. Grant, and then kind of explain all that stuff. But we're going to go ahead and start getting to more close to Nedry, where he actually finally does the deed and go in and take, because he has the Barbasol can. And or I don't think, and I think it's actually Gillette in the book. It's a Gillette can in the book, but the other in the movie, I think it's a Barbasol. Well, anyway, that's where he goes and collects. He gets everything shut down and stuff. And of course, like there's guards that kind of like they see him after the fact, but they have no idea what he did. But so I think beforehand, whenever he finds out about the population and stuff, Muldoon loads up a rocket launcher in the back of this Jeep. And this is the same Jeep that Nedry takes with him. So we kind of like, after he takes everything and they have no idea what's going on, he's like, oh, I'll be able to get back there and do this stuff and I'll be perfectly fine. Nobody will ever notice a thing. All I have to do is drop this off and I'm good to go. And then I'll be back and they'll never know what happened. Well, of course, that's where everything goes wrong because he shut everything down. It ended up shutting down a lot of the power, everything that like, during the storm. Of course, you had the storm going on, but he was able to shut down this, like, just to keep everything so he wasn't noticed. And this is where we kind of get into where the incident starts to happen, and we get the main road, and that's where I'm gonna. Okay. We get to more of the main road. So let's go ahead and we'll go with Sag to start with the main road scene. But like, all right, I can kind of get started here. The main
There's
roads. Yeah.
Is he there?
Huh? What's up?
You want to kind of explain the main road scene? I'm gonna kind of push with the. This is where the T-Rex attack kind of starts off and stuff.
Okay. So getting into the T-Rex attack.
Mhm.
Yeah. So again, literally probably like one of the most iconic moments period across both the book and the movie. Again, just like before, it blends a lot for me, so please correct me if I'm wrong with this. But getting into it, I think this is where I was saying it earlier. The mood is already ominous because as they came through here earlier, this was obviously before the storm, that everything was fine, the power is on, but at this point, something is already off from the beginning. They can already kind of sense something's off because that hum of the fence is no longer there. And I believe when the T-Rex comes out, he comes out and he roars, and it's just immediately the sense of impending doom, and it's just built even more when when of course we have the moment when he comes through and you get into the whole attack scene and the separation of everyone. And I don't want to get too much into that before kind of everyone shares their thoughts on this scene. But again, now this is where we're really plunged into it. Again, we've had all these conversations leading up, and I think this is where that conversation uh, with Gennaro and Malcolm was so key right before we're getting into this, because again, Malcolm is kind of, although he's the voice of Crichton, he's also the voice of reason, because the readers, we know, we can see this is all going wrong. We can see the path towards this falling apart. And Malcolm, although he is getting on their nerves and he's pissing them off and he is being a bit snarky here and there, he is completely right. And his perspective is just the perspective of logic and reason, and kind of making them realize you cannot play God, you can't control everything. So when we finally get to the moment of, okay, this is all going down, and then combined with Nedry and his escape and his everything, and like you said, he's taken off with Muldoon's stuff in the truck. So it's like everything that could possibly be going wrong is going wrong,
Mhm.
because not only do you have the impending doom of the breakout and the storm and all that, but you're also removing tools that are going to be vital towards the survival of the people that are going to be left in the aftermath of dealing with this situation
Mhm.
and surviving on the island.
It's almost like a butterfly effect.
Yep.
Or,
It's just like a continued theme of of moving the chess pieces around.
Mhm.
And while we may not necessarily understand the significance of all these things in the moment, Crichton is playing with the dartboard, and he has all of these threads ready to meet at some point. It's just the part that they're going to intersect. We don't know when it's going to happen.
Yep. Yeah, we don't, and that's precisely what happened. We don't know, and but then we almost do know, because it's like, holy crap, this is like everything's starting to hit at once now. And like, you got this very iconic scene in the movie and the books. Like, everybody knows. Everybody knows. But sorry, I'm a little bit just there's other stuff going on too. Sorry for my focus. But anyway, for this T-Rex scene, we kind of have a bunch of differences here, and the biggest thing that goes on here is how things are going, because they're sitting here wondering, because they notice that I think they found out about the power being off, because everything stopped, they can't move. So okay, I guess the power's off. Well, they all think that, oh, there's none of these other dinosaurs are going to really notice that the power's off, because this is the arrogance of Ed Regis and Hammond and all the park workers, and so not realizing that, yeah, they may have brushed up against the fence a few times, but they do, every one of them, systematically check
They're just dumb animals.
Yeah, they're just dumb animals. There's no way a dumb animal could figure out that these
They figure it out.
these aren't like our animals, because they wanted to compare them to zoos around the world. Be like, oh, they all when they learn their place, they know not to go. Yeah, but the second they figure, like, these dinosaurs were able to figure it out quick. Hey, the fences aren't on. Free roam, everybody. Let's go. Let's break. Prison break. Let's go. And that's literally what it was. They were able to get out. So first, like, they're kind of looking around and they're watching the fences and stuff, because, of course, like, before they get in the car and everything, they do the whole Tim wants to ride in the same car with Malcolm and Grant and stuff. And they're like, no, we have to have a talk and stuff. And then Ed Regis is all like, oh, don't worry. They'll be on mic. So if you want to have anything, you'll be able to hear it. We'll be fine. Just let them talk and stuff.
That's another difference too, though, that of course in the movie Ellie is not here. She stays with the trike.
Yeah, she stays with, like, yeah, they both stay with the trike and the stego. And Ellie's kind of just with, like, the Gennaro.
Harding, right?
Yeah.
Harding?
Yeah, Harding. So these are all ones that are going to stay on the island. So these are all the group that's actually going to be on this island. So we kind of get to a point with Regis where he's sitting here, like, just like saying, "Oh, there's no way with these dumb animals and stuff. We got to be able to push. Like, we got to be able to. We got to be able to, like, have some kind of window. There's no way that these animals are going to be able to get out." And that's whenever they're kind of looking around the entire paddock and stuff, and just kind of looking and making sure there's nothing going wrong with the dinosaur. That's whenever Tim notices a dark shape kind of move past. He didn't get a really good look at it, and they weren't thinking much of it. Then they're like, "Wait, what about the juvenile? It looked like it could have been the juvenile." That's whenever Rexy. Now, Muldoon is the one that named Rex, the T-Rex in this, Rexy. And I'll stand by that. Rexy. This is where we get the iconic scene of Rexy attacking the cars. Namely, the first car. He goes after the first car first. And this isn't just a little kind of, as you see here, staring and, like, kind of knocking into it occasionally, like just flipping it over. Literally picks this I think it was I think it might have been a Jeep or something, or it might have been an Explorer, I can't remember in the book, but literally picks it up and, like, throws this thing into a tree, and that's where the whole tree scene comes from. And that's kind of how, like, it just showed, like, this scene goes from bad to worse, because none of the cars make it. I'm pretty sure none of the cars make it.
Yep.
Ian Malcolm does, like, they're sitting there like, what do we got to do? What do we do? We got to go. Well, like, this is the first time one of the, not the best judgments, but it's pretty much what anybody would do realistically in this situation. Malcolm gets out and runs. And then the T-Rex goes chasing after, and of course catches Ian Malcolm.
Whoa. Before we get there, Ed Regis, I'm pretty sure, leaves the car.
Yeah, Ed Regis.
Immediately before, like, because he gets startled, I think before Rexy's even out. He just but he doesn't run to the bathroom. He runs through the jungle. So that's where that whole bathroom scene came from. But Ed Regis, I'm pretty sure, instead of a bathroom, he just runs through the jungle. He abandons the kids again.
Yeah. Yeah, just goes and abandons the kid.
No matter who it is, the kids are always getting abandoned.
Yep, it's like, he's like, oh, I'm out. Because Ed Regis runs, because he saw what happens whenever somebody gets mauled by these dinosaurs. He doesn't want to see what happens whenever you get mauled by a friggin', 3-ton Tyrannosaurus Rex. Does not want to see that.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm out.
But what does he fail? Because doesn't Tim point out the shadow?
Yeah.
What does he fail to remember?
Yeah, I know. Well,
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that.
Both of-
But yeah, this part here was a you're starting to see, okay, these arrogant people, they're the first ones to run. They're like, oh crap, we should have listened. I'm out. Meanwhile, all these experts are sitting there, and Ian Malcolm, he's like, yeah, well, time to get out of here because we can't see where the kids are at. They can't see the kids are alive, so out. Tim's knocked out. I think Lex kind of got tossed out a little bit. And, like, you can hear her kind of like screaming, crying a little bit in the. But of course, that buddy's gonna. We'll get there. So let's kind of go along that road right there with that this portion, this attack that I would have loved to see full potential in the movie, which we still got an iconic moment in the movie. Yeah, it's Sag.
Oh yeah, like you said, that's the only unfortunate thing. Although Jurassic Park was revolutionary, the movie with the visuals, even that is too much to be able to pull off with the true terror of the T-Rex attack, obliterating the vehicles, knocking them around, and then again, I do think that they perfectly use Gennaro the way that Regis pretty much is depicted, the way he just takes off like that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it just is the perfect moment of these are the people that thought, no, we're playing the ball's in our court. Nothing could go wrong. But then the second that facade is broken, their temperament is reduced to worse than the children. That they fall apart because again they are playing in a sandbox. They truly have no idea what they're doing with, and this is the epitome of the peak of the true horror, because now you have the most deadly killing machine on earth that is now free to rampage on this island, and they're just pretty much sitting there in front of it at its mercy. So again, a great scene, and perfectly, no, I don't want to say perfectly, but fantastic translation to the movie. But I do wish one thing, because we are comparing the two, I do wish the one character that would have made it to the movie is Ed Regis, because there is so much that goes
Mm-hmm.
on with his character, specifically the PR guy, and then this moment, of course, being like the climax of his character just breaking and falling apart. It would have been awesome to see that perspective of like another guy to go along with the lawyer and to go along with Malcolm and and uh, and Ellie and Alan being the guys coming in just looking at the park, but Regis the guy who's kind of on the park side with Hammond to kind of balance out the defense, but also to see, it would have been also really cool to see not only with Hammond, because obviously Hammond's reaction is pretty iconic in the movie when he starts screaming and freaking out when he realizes what's going wrong. But it would have been awesome to see another guy like Regis and his breakdown, just like how it is in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
pretty amazing, iconic scene for both the book and the movie. Just the detail that I wish they could have put from the book to the movie, though.
Yeah.
But still iconic. Still iconic. What they could do. I mean, they were in the movie. They were dealing with more than just animatronics, but they're also dealing with an actual storm and water and rain, and it
Yeah.
just didn't help the whole scene in general. But they did what they could with it, and they did a fantastic job after the product was finished. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the difference between both book and movie. It's like you can interpret both the interpretations of both these are just iconic, and it would have been cool to see Ed Regis in there, but we kind of I think with their time and stuff that they had with that movie, they kind of wanted to, okay, let's kind of push this, because you can tell, like, as good of a movie as Jurassic Park is, you can tell that they had to shorten it up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Is that, like, there's so much more they wanted to add to it. Of course, they had real life hurricane. What was it? I can't remember what the name of the hurricane was, but they had a real life hurricane go through the set and destroyed most of the set. So that's why we didn't get a lot more. We were gonna have a lot more going into the movie, but yeah, with this T-Rex scene, it was just so crazy. Like it put in the sheer force of what this Tyrannosaurus Rex could actually do. And what's funny is if you played the old Sega Genesis game, it's got the aesthetic of the movies, but it's got the storyline of the of the books in it. Because at first I'm like, that didn't happen in the movie, and that's a Jeep. Why is the T-Rex picking up that Jeep? And then I'm like, then I read the book, I'm like, that makes sense. And like, of course, you got just the struggle that's going on during this scene. And I think after this scene, it goes into here. It's a nice thing about having Audible. I can look at the notes here. Okay, the tour. All right, main road. Okay, so we get the return, yeah. So we're gonna go ahead over to Nedry. Unfortunately, right now, Straxwill is not here. He's got a emergency going on right now, family emergency going on right now. So it's we'll be able to get his take on this scene maybe whenever he gets back. But we're gonna go ahead to the Nedry scene here, because this is literally how it goes, because then we kind of go back to a little bit more of an explanation later on. But with the Nedry scene, he's of course doing the same thing. He's trying to get to this boat and stuff. Well, he ends up getting a little turned around, and he ends up at this this one fence, this like big concrete wall area, and he's turned around, so he's like, okay, I want to go look around. Well, fortunately, the Dilos are out and about, and we get a very graphic telling of Dennis Nedry's demise. And of course, we kind of get like a little bit of the like beforehand, we kind of get the where is he at, what's going on here. They're kind of getting a little bit of ideas, but like we don't know what's going on right now. And Nedry during this scene is just doing as usual. He's hauling, trying to get around. Well, there he gets stopped at this fence, and we run into the Dilo scene. So this is a very iconic scene for both book and movie, and the demise of Dennis Nedry and how graphic this death is, because the entire time he probably dealt with one of the most painful deaths in at least the first book. Other than, of course, there's others that deal with some, but he dealt with a very detailed death, because not only does he get blinded and everything, but in this, since it's so graphic, he literally feels a burning knife through his gut, and he's holding there, and he's actually holding, and if you're children, close your ears. Holding his intestines, and he's just sitting there like screaming and stuff, and then eventually he gets the one final excruciating feel that the Dilophosaurus has, and these are full-blown adult Dilophosaurs, and they're a lot bigger, because he can feel them moving up closer to him, but he cannot see them. All he sees is fog and lights kind of blinking in and out, because he cannot see
He's blind by this point.
Yeah, he's completely blind, because of course they miss, and it tells me that whenever they're shooting their venom and everything, they're doing test shots first. So they're like, okay, that one missed. All right, that one hit. He's still standing there. All right, that one hit too. There we go. And he got hit, and he's blind, and he's feeling the shaking of Earth getting closer to him, and that's whenever he gets his gut slit, and then gets picked up in the jaws, and that's where he literally, it says he started feeling the ease of death, where he's just like, he just wanted it to be done quick at that point. So let's go ahead, Sad, start with the Nedry.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I could say about this is it's the perfect scene for Dennis Nedry because his whole character, from the introduction we get of him with Dodgson and the interactions he has with Hammond and just his whole temperament of the way he's built, and this is a perfect representation of how he is in the movie as well, is he is just a resentful, overconfident prick, and that simply put. And he has overconfidence is triple down for this scene. There's three levels of overconfidence. Is the fact that he's so confident in participating in this espionage, this illegal scheme, and there's his number one fatal flaw: overconfidence.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is he overestimates his ability to navigate the island, get through the storm, trust the car, and boom, now he's screwed. The car breaks down. You're in a shitty situation. And then number three, he underestimates his environment and he underestimates the dinosaurs, which ultimately leads in him not even getting anywhere. I mean, he gets his down payment, but that's never going to get fulfilled, and that check is never going to get cashed because, of course, he never even makes it to the dock. So, I think this is a perfect way for Dennis Nedry, a character, to go out because he is riddled with overconfidence, and that's exactly how he goes out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Overconfidence is his downfall.
Yep.
Sounds like Star Wars too.
Yeah.
But yeah, this iconic scene. It's like if we could only get adult Dilophosaurus in the main movie,
Right? Like that's the one thing. Are we ever going to get an adult Dilo in live action?
Yeah, that's what we've been waiting for. Unless this is what we've been doing. Unless whenever Nedry said in the movies, which we're going to kind of combine the movie and the book now, within the movies, he's like, he must be one of your big brothers. I thought, like, at first I kind of did a little bit of thinking, like, at first I'm like, oh, his big brothers. Then I'm like, he's not referring to actually one of the bigger dinosaurs out there, is he? Because I'm hoping that this is not the full size because that thing was like,
Oh no, yeah, no, that is correct. Because I'm with you. When I was first watching that, like when I was younger, like when I heard him say, "Yeah, oh, not one of your big brothers," I'm thinking he's making a joke as to like, "Oh yeah, it's not a T-Rex or it's not something like that, like one of the bigger dinosaurs." But no, that is 100% confirmed that every Dilo we see is a juvenile.
mhm.
So he is making that reference indeed to the fact that you're not one of the fully grown ones, so I don't have to worry about it. But
Yeah,
it does beg the question of, like, I know we're not talking about these recent movies, but we even in Dominion they brought back the Dilo, a whole shit ton of them, and they're all the small ones.
yeah,
And and now we see them in Rebirth, and it's still the small ones. So I don't know. I'm holding out hope that we're gonna get one in Rebirth that is the big,
yeah,
like, big ass, bigger than a Velociraptor, actual size Dilo.
yeah. I'm hoping that was a camera angle we saw there. Because even
Yeah.
like in Dominion, like you had a whole group of these things, and you would think these things would be older. No, these things are juveniles too. I'm like, what?
Nope,
They
just
think
grab it by the
yeah.
throat and then it nullifies it.
Yeah, yeah. Have them by the throat and it nullifies it.
or maybe Wu try to learn and say, "Hey, you don't want a full size one of these."
Yeah,
I mean, think about the elephant.
Growth inhibitors.
Think about the elephant. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, these things are not good. So and they spit poison, which is worse than a velociraptor.
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's not make them full size and say we did.
Mm. Yep, yep. And then like, yeah, with this whole like, yeah, what happens later on too, which I can't wait to get to too. This is like a little bit closer to the end of the book, but it deals with Muldoon and on Nedry. It's freaking phenomenal. But yeah, what were you gonna say there, Sag?
Oh, that was pretty much it for that.
Yeah, okay. The next one is bungalow scene, it looks like, and I think this is where Hammond and we were talking, and I think this is kind of where he discusses a little bit more about he wanted to go to a different style. He wanted to change some stuff, and then of course the entire time friggin' Hammond's being Hammond. Oh no, nothing could go wrong. Oh, we'll do a lot better next time. Blah blah blah. I'm not an idiot. Everybody else is. Don't worry, this is gonna work. And it just
This is where, yeah, this is. I think this is where Wu wanted to start talking about. Hey, let's actually make the dinosaurs slower and less dangerous
mhm.
because they have the capabilities. But Hammond still denied him that.
Yep. Yep, and you're getting during this entire time too. All the employees are like, "Oh, these are very expensive animals." Meanwhile, there's people out dying and stuff, and these are expensive animals. Oh, I'm glad that you care more about your assets than these people that are dying who are going to take those assets, the money you get from those assets away.
It's
I
like
think
a
that,
total financial game to them.
Yeah.
yeah, I think this is where did he go?
Oh,
Drop somebody.
yeah. I think it might have got
But I
dropped.
think that's where basically it shows a little bit of humanity with Wu saying, "Hey, if you want this, let's just back it off a little bit." You know, it's kind of too late at that point, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me go ahead and try to get Edge back. If I'm able to, because I think I got to do a new link. So copy link. And paste. It's a different link now. I had to regenerate a new link, so hopefully that works. But where were we just at?
We're just talking about the Wu and the Hammond speaking in his bungalow, which it's an important part of the book, I think, but it also at the same time is just showing how much more Hammond is dumb.
yeah, turning a blind eye to everything.
Yep.
Turn
Even after what was going on in the road. So.
Yep. Yep, and we're gonna be getting into that river scene there, Chad. It's that one I can't wait to get to too, because that's such an iconic scene too that people have been demanding for since 1993.
Right.
People have been demanding, but anyway, yeah, we kind of at this point we get to after the bungalow, we kind of get back to Tem and the yeah, okay, yeah, Tim kind of got into he's got a work call, but Tim kind of got it. We're dealing with him inside of the vehicle. Of course, he does the same thing in there, where except it's just him, where he gets sick in there, of course, and then he's trying to get out, and then he's noticing that the cruiser is on its side, hanging on some limbs, so he's getting out there. That's whenever the whole scene where the land cruiser is starting to fall, and then that's whenever he's able to get himself. Nobody else is around. He himself is able to get out of there. Of course, there's a scene before all this, so that way I don't confuse anybody with Grant, where he's sitting there and he's not moving. Don't move a muscle. They can't see you if their vision's based on movement. He's kind of sitting there. And he actually himself, like the T-Rex knows he's there, but he's just like confused. So he does a bellowing roar, and then he kind of like moves and he actually kicks Dr. Grant, slightly kind of scratching him, which I would say that would be the best scar to ever have. Hey, I survived a Tyrannosaurus Rex attack and I got a scar to prove it. Even though nobody's gonna believe him, and he had to do a non-disclosure agreement on the island, but you're like, yeah, I got scratched by a T-Rex. Screw it. But he actually got launched through the air, and that's whenever he got knocked out, and that's where it ends the whole T-Rex scene and everything. And then we kind of go into the bungalow, and then we kind of go towards where Tem is kind of like going around and looking for everybody, and doesn't know where Lex is, because the last he saw Lex was she fell out of the cruiser and then was kind of off on her own. Didn't know, because it kind of just went into black. Then he discovers and finds Lex in the I'm making sure I got this right. He finds Lex in a little string, a little pipe hiding, and we kind of get an explanation, and we're kind of going into a I think it's more on the road portion, if I'm not mistaken. We kind of get a little bit of an explanation about where Lex was kind of, she's like in panic mode, quiet, like shaking and hitting her head off the back of the pipe. So
Yeah.
she's in that pipe and everything. And she just kind of just
Yeah, the whole scene's just a little blurry. It's been
yeah.
a while, so
Yeah, and Tim's kind of going up and trying to play that comfort and stuff and be like, "Hey, it's okay. You're fine. Hey, I got your. I think it was her baseball or her glove. Got her glove for her, and he was able to give her glove, and like it kind of snapped her out a little bit. And she said, "Hey, where's they're talking and said, hey, we got to go find people. Hey, where's Dr. Grant? He was just here a little bit ago." And she started calling Dr. Grant and everything.
yeah.
So we kind of get to the point where we get to Ed Regis again. So after he ran out of the car and when he went and hid between two rock formations that were at the bottom of a hill, he just stayed there. So of course he's traveling back. He gets out and he's on it. He's walking back, and he's feeling all over himself, and he starts feeling himself, and he feels his lip like something kind of a numb, tingly, warm feeling by his lip, and he's feeling this thing and it's swollen up. He's like, "What is it?" And he heard stories about leeches, so he had leeches all over him, of course, and he got it off and whatnot. This is where he kind of goes into more of a traveling around, like kind of walking around. And then that's whenever he hears of distant Dr. Grant, because in the last scene we get to where they kind of meet up, Dr. Grant and everything. They meet up and they kind of chat, and like they're all together and everything. And that's whenever we're gonna kind of cut to this scene where Regis hears that, and he's kind of on his way back, and they kind of notice, I think it like cuts between both Grant and Regis and stuff, because he's starting to head back, and then it kind of goes back to where Grant and them, and they kind of notice that there's a quietness. I'm kind of cutting this scene up a little bit because it's not going to be like all in one, but this is where we kind of get to the demise of Ed Regis. And this is a very, it's not as brutal as most, but it's a very, holy crap, if I was in that situation, I can't imagine that. But they're kind of going along he's kind of walking around, and they notice there's a quietness, and Regis is kind of looking around and stuff and not noticing what's going on. And then Grant, he's looking around, and he's looking at the trees, and he notices a weird shadow. And this shadow, it goes up to like a curve to a big, I think they say it's like a boulder almost looking head. And this is the juvenile T-Rex. And he notices that. So, but at this point, Regis is kind of starting to walk back to go and find them, and he doesn't realize it until it's too late, because you can hear the snorting. They kind of Crichton explains it as it sounds like horse breathing, and whenever like the kind of wind and like the everything kind of dies down, you really hear it. And then that's where we cut to the attack on Regis, and ending up in his imminent demise. So from what you remember from that scene?
From what I remember from the scene, Ed Regis was not necessarily attacked, but played with like a toy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
That from what I remember is it just kind of like starts playing, and he's getting mad. It's like, stop it, and try having a like a little, literally a conversation, like it's not gonna kill him. And then I forget how it kills him, but it then attacks him.
Yeah. So what happens is You're right. He's playing, the T-Rex is kind of playing with him because he's seeing it, because this entire time Ed Regis is sitting there screaming, waving his hands, hey, stop it, trying to scare it away. You're not gonna scare, you're gonna scare away, I know it's only a proportion of the size of that T-Rex, but you're not gonna scare away anything. This thing I think was 10 feet tall, I think is how they worded it. A 10-foot tall T-Rex. You're not gonna scare this thing away. It thinks you're playing, it's the first thing it's playing. So this is the first meal it's ever got to really hunt. So it starts knocking him around and everything. And then it finally knocks him enough to where he goes on his back. And that's whenever you kind of pan over to Dr. Grant and stuff, and you can hear him scream. He puts it as you hear him scream. And then it goes into a sudden stop. And the next thing you see is the Rex's head raise up, and he says there's flesh. And that's whenever Grant grabs the kids and runs.
Okay.
It's a very it shows how deep that Crichton can go with his books and philosophical with his books. And there's a bunch of other books like I recommend from him. My buddy Chad here reads a lot. He loves Crichton. It's his book, and like he has so much philosophical stuff and how in depth he can go with the character deaths. And that's what like shows one of the deaths that he went, Nedry, Regis, so, and others to come. But yeah, this is where we lose. There's a lot of death in here, but there's also a lot of living.
Yeah.
But this scene goes to show, and this is where I think we kind of cut back a little bit to let me see here. We have a little bit more about the control. They're trying to figure out what Nedry did. They figure out that Nedry had something to do with the embryos going. They find I know, and I think it's around this point is where he finds out that Wu finds out that somebody else has been in there, and they're trying to find, because they want to go out and get the kids. So during this whole scene where it's before like the attack and everything, Muldoon wants to go out and get the kids. Well, he goes over there. There's the Jeep's gone. The Jeep that has the rocket launcher in it is gone. And that's whenever they go over to they pan over to the attack and stuff, and then
they basically start realizing, oh, Nedry's missing.
Yeah, Nedry's missing, but they don't realize at this point that Nedry's dead. And they're during this entire scene, they're trying to discover the keystrokes, everything, what he's doing. They're finding everything out about that, and like that's where they're in full panic mode, and they kind of call they radio the Jeep, which has Harding, Sattler, and Gennaro in it, and that's when they're on their way back and everything. So it's just like it's a crazy thing that they've done in this book where it's literally just a giant domino effect. Everything is just going perfectly wrong for the group that's there, but perfectly right for the dinosaurs.
Right.
And they're like, oh man, we don't have this. Hey, hurry up, get back here. We need your car so we can go get the other cruisers. They were attacked, and this is where they finally go out there. And this is actually, the entire time is actually Muldoon and Gennaro, whenever they go back to find the car. That's where they find Malcolm, and they get him back in time to where he's going to be over.
Yeah.
He's going to be on a bit of a morphine craze, let's just say, during these scenes.
A little morphine, just a little.
Yeah, a little more. So, and of course, we kind of go back to Grant, and they're kind of going through the park, and Grant, overnight they don't stay in a tree, by the way, but Grant, he actually climbs up a tree and kind of looks around, and he's just like he's looking around, and he sees that there's this shed and it's a shed that's kind of for all the food and everything. So they over the night for this night they don't stay in the in a tree. They actually stay in a little shed area, and then we kind of go back. It kind of goes back and forth at these points, going through the park and stuff.
Right.
And they're discussing more. I think there's some stuff in between, but we're kind of pressing it for time here, so I'm gonna kind of push through a little bit quicker here, because I want to get to some other scenes here too that are very serious moments, that are incredible moments. Of course, you kind of go to dawn, and the power is still not back on. They don't have everything back. Grant, and then they kind of he goes up to the sensor because he's trying to get attention to the control to say, hey, this is where we're at. During the night, they're kind of they're doing some construction stuff. Of course, they're watching everything, but they're doing some stuff to fix up and bring back the park a little bit. And I think that's whenever they kind of discover that's where Muldoon discovers Nedry. They're like, hey, we found Nedry and stuff out in the park, and they go to that. And this is one of my favorite moments with Muldoon. I think more greedy. Yes, they are very, very greedy and greasy. But they go. They were kind of at this. We're at this point whenever they find out that Nedry has died in the park. So because they see in the distance the Jeep by the fence area where it was stopped, they kind of see in the distance the light of the Jeep. So they go over and they talk about, hey, we found Nedry and stuff. He didn't make it and everything. But Muldoon, the entire time, he's like, hey, he tells Gennaro to watch his step. He doesn't want him to step in anything. He's pretty much insulting, and he says a whole thing about I guess there is justice after all from what happened to Nedry, because he got his comeuppance. And that's what happened. Nedry got killed, and he discovered just don't step in anything, talking like he's pretty much, you don't want to step in crap. And he goes and he gets his rocket launcher back and everything, and then we kind of go more towards
Well, Nedry's basically the reason why everything went to shit. I mean,
yeah,
the storm was one thing, but
yeah, Nedry did not help.
Nedry is ultimately the big reason.
Yeah, he was like the final pushing point for the boulder to go down the mountain.
Mm-hmm. The dinosaur's like, thank you, now we eat you.
Yep, and got some food for it too. He doesn't have any food on him. He is the buffet. He is the buffet. So
stick, stupid.
Yep. And that's the difference between that scene and everything. But after his death scene, you don't get any more mention of Nedry. Like, you it's just. But during the book, you get a little bit more in depth, and that's where it goes to, and that's what I love about it. This book is crazy, and like it does like nice little slow nods back and forth to each other. And there's scenes that were in the sequel or Lost World, and there was just how they pulled from first book through to second movie and stuff, and vice versa and whatnot. But of course we kind of get to where Grant and the kids wake up, and they woke up in this feed. Well, Grant kind of wakes up and hears like jangling and stuff. And here's Lex. I think she names like all the dinosaurs in this, like Clarence or something. I can't remember. But yeah, the pet. You remember the pet? I think it was a Triceratops. It might have been a sauropod. I can't remember what it was.
Me either.
But she's sitting here feeding the thing, and then she says, "Hey, Grant, you want to help me?" Hey, where's Tim? I guess he had to go to the bathroom or something like that. But yeah, it's there's so much explained in this book, and like kind of going through different points and reasons in it. you get to like all these cool little moments. So eventually it gets to where I think, if I'm not mistaken, they get scared by the juvenile or something. I think it's they get scared, so they start running and they find, they end up by a lagoon is what they call it. So it's a lagoon, and they are able to get onto a raft. So we're getting into one of the most iconic scenes. Like we're getting close to one of the most iconic scenes. So they get on these raft scenes and stuff, and
There's two occurrences with the rafts, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, there's multiple occurrences. So the first part's before the aviary, which we'll get into. They're going down, and I think it's at this point whenever they're going down, they go on the boat, and they kind of just goes off a little bit, and then I think the kind of pan back to them kind of searching and stuff still for Grant and everything and trying to figure things out. And we kind of cut to, I think there's a point where you have the Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's kind of just like chilling, and he's trying, Grant's like, okay, we need to be quiet and stuff. And of course, sneezing at the wrong time is Lex. So this entire, yeah, she's like, she's sitting there, she's trying to hold it on. I think it's a cough. Sorry, a cough, I should say. Coughing at the wrong time. She's literally saying, like, he's like, okay, we got to keep quiet. And then Tim looks over and sees that she's doing a little gesture. She's like, she's got a cough and stuff. And he's like, oh, dang it. She always coughs at the wrong time. Why can't she just cough? So like Grant like dips his hand down and try to give her some water to stop it, but it's too late. Coughs, wakes up this Tyrannosaurus Rex. And this Tyrannosaurus Rex starts to, sure I didn't get any. This Tyrannosaurus Rex starts to swim after them. And she's like, oh, we're out in the middle of this. Tyrannosaurus Rex can't swim. She's like, of course they can. It's in all the books. All lizards can do it. All lizards can swim. And like they're literally running. Yeah.
So unless you're a basilisk lizard,
yeah.
then you can run on the water.
Yeah, you got to be basilisk to run on the water. We are in a very iconic part of this. So this is the chase scene of the
I'll be right back.
The Tyrannosaur with the raft scene, and this is a very iconic, and you'll see some illustrations here in the background, and I love this scene. I'm kind of pushing through it a little bit, but
sweet.
But yeah, we're going to combine everything, and this is a moment in the book that everybody would have loved to see in the movies, and they've been begging for. So, but in the beginning scene here, we already kind of went through like the attacks and stuff, and I don't know, you weren't there for the Nedry scene and everything, right?
No.
Yeah. So we kind of went through that. If you want to iterate anything from that scene.
From the Dennis Nedry scene?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, is that a dark scene? My biggest thoughts on the Nedry scene is that he was so smart. He had everything figured out, right? But he didn't account for the unexpected and gets done in by one of the very creations that he had no idea about. One of those little X factors, I think is what they call it. Those little variables that pop in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the difference between that one and the movie, I think that I don't know, I like them both for what they are, but I think I like the book one a little bit more.
Yeah, it was very brutal, and like I was explaining to them about he knew what was going on, and it was actually very brutal and painful to him.
Yeah, and he was just like, I hope it would be over soon. And it was like his last thoughts that it would all be over soon.
Yeah,
like he was getting picked. Could you imagine, like you can't see, you're blind, then you just get ripped into, and you know what's happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
You are alive when they stop to eat you.
Yeah,
when they start to eat.
Yeah, and justice.
Yeah,
it was justice, and and that's where we kind of explained to them about Muldoon whenever they found his body.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't want you to step in anything. I don't want you to. You might step in something. So watch where you step and stuff. And like, the pure just screw this man for doing this, because if it wasn't for him, we would have at least had some kind of control to help, but it was inherent, and it was something that Malcolm in the scenes between explained, that he's like, he was part of my prediction too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that's an iconic scene in the book. Very dark. He's like, the river. I had it all figured out, but I was cut off by a river, and then all of a sudden, death. It's crazy.
yeah, it was definitely a crazy. Stop. 1 second, I'm being distracted by dog. Stop. Out. You might want to stay, I guess. But yeah, it's a very big moment, cosmic justice.
So we're back to the river. Did we get to the part where they? Oh no, we wouldn't have yet. We didn't get to where Muldoon shot the T-Rex yet.
No, not yet. We're at the first part. Whenever
They first go into the river,
Yep.
they find the parasaur that I guess that it was eating.
Yeah, they found. Yeah, he was eating and like, I think he was like kind of resting by it. He was resting by it, and like that's whenever she coughed, and she always coughs at the wrong time.
I want to see what the T-Rex looked like visually when it was sitting there, because according to his description, I think it's like sitting there and its tail's out and its legs are forward.
Yeah, it's
I just think that would be funny to watch.
Yeah, and like its head was like just standing up.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very I love that. Most, like, whenever people think the novel, that's like the biggest scene that they think of.
Yeah. We still got
Sag?
What's his name? Yeah, Sag.
No, he had a work call.
Okay.
So yeah, he may or may not be back. So if not, it's good. It's good. We got a lot. But anyway, yeah, this scene is just like a very iconic scene, and like we got to see it in the game as well. It's good. It's just such a great moment that everybody was rooting for, and we might be getting in the next movie. So it'd be very cool if we do. But let's go ahead and move.
Looks like we might.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be very close. So whenever they kind of go through it, I think they get to a point where the T-Rex sees that the juvenile is going after its kill.
Yep.
And to law of nature. By the way, Timmy, Snow.
Yeah.
Okay. The Tyrannosaur turns back to go to protect its kill by law of nature. And that's whenever we get a nice little safe moment towards them, and then we kind of go back into like a little bit of a search, and they're I think that's whenever they're kind of like just they explain about the aviary.
Yeah.
And why it's not on the tour. And why, like, all the because Grant and them, they kind of roll up and they see like the aviary in the distance, and they kind of see how the stuff's all boarded up and whatnot, or like it's like all boarded up and like closed off. And they're like, oh, I wonder why that is. Maybe it's just not an open part. They're not ready for it yet. Well, we cut to the control room and they're talking about yeah, we don't have that on the tour because it's very dangerous, because the Pteranodon, like they had like more fish hunters. I can't remember what they were called. But they weren't Pteranodons. They were
Pterodactyls, paradons, or something like that.
What? Dinos. So there we go. I know you're here. That is not the book.
Pterodactyls.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, pterodactyls. is what it was called. And these are a little bit smaller, but they still pack a punch. And they were, I think, more greedy. John Hammond, LOL, playing with its food. But yeah,
Oh,
cool.
that scene, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just what was that? Yeah, the pteranodons, they would come out and they would knock out all the workers and stuff. So they kind of were like, yeah, this is on the tour because of that. We kind of keep them all closed off and we don't know what to do yet with them. But eventually we're going to figure out how to control that situation too.
Yeah.
Well-
Supposedly they were like really territorial.
Yeah, it was they were really territorial, so they kind of had to cut that a little bit off. And we cut to Grant and them heading into the aviary, and they start getting attacked by these pterodactyls, and they're no joke because I think they eventually
I think they come across the little ones, and then she gets bit, like the little pterodactyl or whatever.
Yeah.
The little pterodactyl bites her
yeah
because it like thinks they're food or something like that. And,
yeah
like, she starts crying. He bit me.
Yeah, and then they then eventually I guess some of the adults kind of grab her and they kind of they grab and take her baseball glove because she's very into baseball and stuff, and well, they took her glove and they kind of panicked. They panicked there just like they did on the main road scene with Wax kind of going, but they kind of see some stuff. They get a lot of panic with her.
Yeah.
But she's like, "Oh, they took my stupid dinosaurs." Yeah,
Mhm.
dinosaurs.
They took her. I think they took her glove, and she says, "I hope they choke on it."
Yeah. I hope they choke, on it. Yep, I hope they choke on it. Yeah, it's just like like this is the different. These are the dinosaurs that you get in the book. Yeah, like some you don't see. Like in this one, you get hadrosaurs, myosaurs, parasaurophiluses, dryosaurs, corythosaurus.
Yeah, I think they keep going and they come across the Rex again.
Yeah, they keep going. Go ahead.
They keep going and then they come across the Dilophosaurs, and they were like drinking from the water and all, but they turn around because the Rex is there, and they're like hooting and going forward, and that's whenever it leads to a scene that was actually taken from the novel and put in the second movie, and that's the behind the waterfall scene.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's that's after a lot of this stuff. Yeah, this scene right here where you see the T-Rex actually blows through some shrubbery, well, trees and brush. Salem, I need you to go. You are not allowed in here. You are not allowed in here during streams because you knock stuff over. Hey, go.
Bad doggy.
Kitty, go.
Bad kitty.
All right. Anyway, this like you have the Dilophosaurus scene where at first you don't see the T-Rex at all. And Grant's like, okay, everybody duck down and keep quiet. Do not say it. Damn thing, pretty much.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're going to go by. And they're actually spitting. They're spitting across and they can smell because it's like a sweet, bitter odor to them is what they kind of, I think they put it as more like a vomit, almost sweet vomit smell to it.
It's like it's nausea, like dried vomit or something like that.
Yeah. Yep. And he and they see like they're spraying, and that's whenever you kind of get a little they kind of put their focus on the T-Rex because it crashes through the brush, and then that's whenever we kind of get a nice little get more of a chase scene.
Yeah, I think that's when he was running from Muldoon, though.
Yeah, because then
That's right.
then that's whenever Muldoon starts chasing the Rex and shoots it because like I hit the bastard, but I know I hit it. But they thought they missed.
Because it just kept going.
Yep. But anything about that scene create like that entire scene, both of you?
I think it was a pretty cool scene. So as they're going down this river or whatever, I remember that the Dilophosaurs were kind of almost like an alarm system. But what's interesting is he plays two parts of a story here. You got the perspective of the character of the kids in Grant, and then the character of Muldoon. And I can't remember if Sattler was with him or not, but he does. He shoots it, and it's going into the foliage, and he thought he lost it. And then they end up banked. They can't move. They're grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to get out, and then they work their way up to a waterfall. Like they see the path goes up there, and they discover that behind it there's like
Yeah.
a door. And they get behind this thing, and this is where it, spoiler alert, gets into the second movie. They get behind this thing, and Grant ends up in through this door. And I remember the Tyrannosaurus Rex is poking its head through, but it can't reach the kid, so it sticks its tongue out. And it almost gets him. Like it's starting to pull Tim, I think, towards it to where it can get it. And then it just like falls asleep. It passes out.
Yeah.
Because the tranquilizer finally kicked in.
Yep.
And that always stuck with me. Like he's very descriptive too. He was like, it was like an abrasive tongue, and it was hot and wet, and it smelled horrible.
Yeah. Tim was accepting the inevitable death that he might have gotten, but would pass out just in time. Salem, stop it. Yeah. They also, what was cool too in that scene, whenever they kind of like they ran aground, but they were like they noted they were getting ready to go over a fall, and they noticed at the bottom of the fall was a T-Rex, and that's where it ties into that pathway and stuff. At first, they thought that Lex ended up dying, but she didn't, because they found.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because they saw the life vest of her that was in the jaws of the T-Rex, so they got scared, and then that's whenever he got called, and then I think they all met up, and then that's whenever they ended up in that scene.
That whole scene would be cool to see. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, just in the raft going over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a lot of that scene too coming here in this future movie. I think we're going to see a lot of scenes that people wanted to see in it, as long as it's not trying to go down, oh, hey, look, and trying to hide it between a terrible story or something, you know. But yeah, it's a very iconic scene that a lot of people would love to see, and hopefully, if they do like I know like we don't want a lot of remakes, but if they do a like shot for shot of the book remake, and like either a cartoon style or a its own series style, and it's got to be like a rated, like this has got to be rated M. I'm sorry, because I want to like if they're going this route, that's what they ought to do. But I don't think they will. So.
Don't childify it.
Yeah. Salem.
What did you think of the scene?
Awesome. Obviously, the entire the what sticks out like you said in the second movie is where the tongue of the T-Rex is just kind of like there, and it's almost going to get Tim, and like Yava said, he's just about dying. He's about to accept it. It passes out. And Muldoon just, I knew I hit it, dang it, basically. And yeah, it's a good scene overall for sure.
Like any good hunter would be like, yeah, I knew I got that bad boy.
Uh-huh.
Tough SOB.
Uh-oh. Where'd Yava go?
Did we lose him?
No, he's there. He's doing something.
I can say he, Dr. Grant during that scene also ends up through a door, and I think there's like a juvenile raptor in there that he ends up tranquilizing.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
And he's like, hey, this thing was definitely bred in the wild. So there's a lot of things that I think pop up during here that Creighton was trying to put across. Like everything is converging full force here. You know, there's no more security. We don't know what to expect. Hey, we didn't know the dinosaur would metabolize a tranquilizer like that, such a large one. And yet the little raptor, you know, ends up passing out pretty quick. And then we verify, yeah, they are actually breeding in the wild.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, you're in the part with
the juvenile raptor,
which is such a funny moment too, because it's like this raptor from what I remember, this raptor is just like, oh crap. It was Grant, because he was a little bit worried, and then noticed, okay, and I think it could also camouflage itself too.
That I don't remember.
Yeah, I think this is the one that can camouflage itself, because this was the one that they could tell the difference between it being in the wild and being. This thing can camouflage. It was able to camouflage, and
Yeah.
that's where we're cutting kind of back and forth, and then I think we kind of get to where they we get back to the control room after this. After the Tyrannosaur and stuff.
Yeah, somewhere. I think so.
Yeah, and we're getting closer to where the Velociraptors start wreaking havoc.
Set free. Yeah.
Because whenever they got like the power on, they were running on auxiliary power. So all the fences were down. It was 10 o'clock. They were all down for 5 hours.
And they had no idea.
Yeah, 5 hours. I know we're given like the whole entire like synopsis of this book, just speaking about it and stuff, but there's so much in this book, and like this is the difference too, that there's more Velociraptors on this island than there were in the book. There's only a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting close to the end.
Yeah, and
well, the raptor scenes are pretty long though.
Yeah.
I mean, you have enough material for a part 2, literally.
Yeah, I do, and I could literally do a part 2, with this, and like it's crazy, and I think it probably is a good. We'll make this a part 1, and then we'll do a part 2 probably.
Movie,
yeah, we'll talk about the movie and stuff a little bit more too. Maybe we'll do a part 2 with that, but this is the point. Like at this point is where they're kind of explaining that, and Arnold's like, yeah, and Mulder's like, oh crap, you're telling me that the Velociraptors could be out for 5 hours, and that's whenever they hear screams.
Mm-hmm.
They hear the scream.
Yeah, that's right. Because Muldude's like, they've been out for 5 hours.
Yeah, you hear the
been
scream.
out.
Now, one of my favorite quotes, I think, happens during this point too. It might even be a little bit later, but I'm gonna get that up here. Ian Malcolm is talking to the group about some stuff, and then I think it's Hammond or Gennaro. I'm pretty sure it was Hammond, says something along the lines that we're just worried that it'll destroy the world. It might be later on whenever he says it. Oh, we'll never destroy our world. We don't have the power to destroy our world. Our world, like the humanity, will be destroyed, but not our world. The world will just keep on going.
Yeah.
Well, it was here long before us. It'll be here long after.
Yep. Start to learn about some of the website. I think he gets the rocket launcher out during this too.
Yeah.
The Jurassic Park game, I think, is closer to the novel than it
Mhm.
actually is the movie that released during the movie back in the 90s on Sega.
Yeah.
Because you have the waterfall scenes, the weapons that are used in it. You have a rocket launcher, tranquilizers, taser, and you actually go through the power plant and different things like that. I think it's a lot closer to the.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's so much closer. And like it's got the aesthetic and I was explaining that too earlier. The aesthetic of the movie, the story of the game. Or the story of the game is of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think doing like I didn't expect like how long, how in depth we were gonna go with this. Like we could go all night with this thing, but I think it is a good idea to probably do a part 2, doing towards the finish of the book. Maybe we could just do the movie and that we can finish up. We can kind of do. Yeah, I'd say we could probably do a part 2 of this. But we are doing. This is up to 3 hours here. And, I think this will be part 1. But we'll do a part 2. We'll reconvene for the second part. I know Sag will probably watch the rest of this and see where we ended up at.
Yeah, when we come back, we could probably start with Mr. Arnold in the maintenance shed.
Yeah, Mr. Arnold in the maintenance shed and just where it goes from here. But that is the first I would say maybe 3/4 of the book
Yeah.
that we
about
just covered
70%.
there. Yeah, and we we did some of the movie here and there, which was not bad at all.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely get more in depth with this. I'll try to jot down a little note that we left off. The next thing we'll be discussing is the Arnold scene.
Arnold.
Yeah, we'll find another time too to do it because I don't know what everybody's doing next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll probably be a little bit short of a stream. It'd be a good point to finish that up. And then we'll try to figure out another way too that we can do the Lost World. That'll be the next one.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then I think whenever we get to like the movies, like Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World Dominion, and stuff like that. Maybe we'll do like a discussion about Camp Cretaceous, but that will be the maybe files.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get to more about John Hammond too in this. But
That's gonna be cool.
it's been
things to come.
it's been a nice long stream. This will be part 1 here, and we'll do part 2 maybe either next weekend or sometime soon. That way we can kind of finish up that and get on to Lost World, because I love Jurassic Park. We all here love Jurassic Park, and just it's a great fandom to get into. So if any of you are looking for books to read, check out Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park.
Hands down.
Yep, hands down. And check out the movie, and you'll see the differences between the two. We'll come up with even a shorter way to explain some stuff too, so that way it's like we kind of get this is a nice feel for how we want to do stuff in the future for this. But I appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you, Straxwill. Thank you, Spaghetti Yeti.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It's nice of you to
Thank
have us
you.
on your show.
Oh yeah,
And to the audience.
Yeah.
Thanks for dealing with me.
yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, thanks for dealing with the lovely stream of a Yavatrooper here. Thank you all. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Also,
Saj.
yeah, thank you, Saj.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll pick you up in the next one there.
Honored guest.
Yep, we will be asking you in the future of all these, so make sure you write a nice 4-page long essay on what we went over here.
We expect Jurassic Park 3, the novel, to be really good. So you're
Yeah,
writing
draft
it.
it.
So
Let's go.
draft it. Boom.
But yeah, thanks again. Thank you, Saj, very much for being in here as well. I know we'll reconvene again here soon. Again, thank you all. Love you all. Have a good weekend. Might be doing a stream tomorrow with Via Doom.